Chapter 12:17. After it was over, the corpses in the surroundings were quickly cleaned up. The bloodstains on the ground were also cleaned up, and the thick smell of blood quickly dissipated. Just a moment ago, the ground was filled with corpses and blood, but now it was clean. It was the same scene as when he first entered. It was so clean, but it also looked extremely simple. This time, the casualties were extremely heavy. Only a portion of them could escape, and most of them died here. However, it still attracted waves of cheers. The blood of the audience outside was boiling, and they felt that this was a real battle. To them, only the baptism of blood could choose the true strongest. If they kept showing mercy, they would not be able to choose the true strongest. If they could not kill, it meant that they were restrained and could not completely release their strength. How could they choose the strongest? Thus, they did not feel sad at all, only excited. Survival of the fittest, this was the case here. The one who would not feel sad the least was naturally Tianyun. On the contrary, he felt that it was very good. It was a pity that there were still 100 people left. Otherwise, he would definitely fight to the last moment. As expected, those who remain are basically heaven monarchs. Earth monarchs are really cannon fodder. Tianyun shook his head. Most of the 100 people who stayed were Lord of Heaven. Among them, there were very few Earth monarchs. There were only about 10 of them. After all, the number of Lord of Heaven was relatively small. There were only a few dozen Lord of Heaven. For example, there were only 80 or 90 Lord of Heaven. No matter what, there would be more than 10 Earth monarchs who could pass. If there were more Lord of Heaven, there would be no need to talk about it. At that time, there would really be no Earth monarchs. During the battle just now, Tianyun clearly felt that many evil spirit race Lord of Heaven would avoid their fellow Earth monarch. This was the most reasonable method. If they fought, it would be disadvantageous to him. How could he be as crazy as Tianyun, killing anyone who got close to him, whether it was an Earth monarch or a Lord of Heaven? In any case, it was the evil spirit race, so they had to die. Therefore, Earth monarchs were definitely cannon fodder. Those Earth monarchs that passed with the mentality of a fluke had basically died in the underworld. If he didn't participate, it would be nice to be a spectator. Congratulations on surviving the first trial. You've already proven that you're the most outstanding among all the clansmen. Elder Tesso looked at them and nodded in satisfaction. After a short rest, you will enter the second test. They didn't announce the content of the next round. They let them take a break first. There were no rewards to speak of during this period. If they passed, then they passed. To them, it was a normal thing. The rest time was not too long. After a short period of 3 days, it was basically over. It wasn't that they were stingy, but with their recovery abilities, 3 days was more than enough. All of them were in high spirits, ready for the next battle. Looks like you've all made your preparations. The next round will still be a deathmatch, and 50 of you will be chosen. Only when you're knocked out of the arena or die will you be considered to have truly lost. Otherwise, it won't be considered as admitting defeat. Elder Tesso explained the content of the next round. It was still a battle. There weren't too many new methods. It was still a baptism of blood. It was just a crazy battle to prove one's strength. Immediately after, the 3 elders waved their hands, and rays of light enveloped them. Following that, they were teleported to the arena above, and the arena was divided for them. This time, the arena was not the entire goddess city, but this small area. As long as they were knocked out, they would be considered to have lost. In a situation like this, they wouldn't have to be knocked out of the city to admit defeat like before. Tianyun didn't struggle much. He was also teleported to the arena in front of him. He looked up and saw that his opponent was a second-layer evil spirit race member of the Lord of Heaven. As soon as he saw his opponent, Tianyun's eyes turned cold. His legs immediately erupted with the strongest power. With a dong sound, his body started to shake violently. Under the berserk power, even space itself was shattered. The next one directly rushed in front of the evil spirit race and swept his leg across. The opponent didn't seem to expect Tianyun to attack so quickly. Although it had already started when he saw his opponent, wasn't this too fast? The opponent quickly extended his hand to block. The dozen or so arms on his back were like a thick meat shield, blocking in front of him. Judging from the current situation, he could only choose to resist. Boom! The violent kick directly pressed him to the ground. Accompanied by a crack sound, the opponent's arm and body caved in from the kick. Following that, even his opponent's huge body was pressed to the ground by the kick, breaking into two pieces and dying on the spot. Even if he used all his arms to block it, it would be meaningless. He was still kicked to death. Such a violent scene caused the evil spirit race outside to suck in a breath of cold air, and then they started to cheer loudly. Too powerful, this strength is too strong. He can even kill someone a level higher than him in an instant. This shouldn't be a simple earth monarch who broke through to the Lord of Heaven, right? It might be a very high-level earth monarch who broke through. It's possible. He's at least at the level of an earth monarch who's above the seventh refinement. However, he didn't release his heavenly energy, so I can't feel it. On the contrary, none of them felt that Tianyun was cruel. Instead, they felt that he was extremely brave and fierce. His violent strength made them all cheer as if they were there. In this world that advocated violence, if Tianyun didn't do this, they would look down on him. It just so happened that Tianyun was extremely displeased with them. He had just started off by killing his opponent with a sure-kill attack. How could he possibly spare his life? Coincidentally, this action had attracted their attention. It was extremely eye-catching. In the entire arena, Tianyun was the first to kill his opponent, and it was an instant kill. How could it not be eye-catching? Not bad, not bad, the three elders nodded in satisfaction. They felt that this was the true state of battle. Either they killed in one strike or they died. There weren't many choices. After killing him, Tianyun sat down to meditate and rest, waiting for the next battle. He was very happy about this kind of thing and wished for a few more. While resting, he looked at the goddess, and the goddess happened to look at him. He could see a hint of disgust in her eyes. She only looked at him for a moment before turning her head away. In her opinion, no matter what it was, as long as it was the evil spirit race, it would make her feel disgusted. Chapter 12:18. After Tianyun took the lead to kill his opponent, the results of the rest came out one after another. Especially the Lord of Heaven against the Earth Lord, the results were also out very quickly. It was just that no matter how fast they were not as eye-catching as Tianyun. The first one was the most eye-catching. Who would have thought that there would be an opponent so fierce? They had just teleported over, and some of them had just stabilized themselves when they were attacked. Although it wasn't against the rules, it was a little too ruthless. Very quickly, the battle ended. The 50 participants were quickly eliminated, but it was not over yet. It would not be over until the last person was chosen. All of your performances are not bad. Then rest for 3 days and prepare for the next round. Elder Tesso was very satisfied with their performance. There weren't too many tricks, it was still a duel, and they relied entirely on their fists to win. Moreover, other than relying on their fists to win, the evil spirit race did not have any other abilities, so they were more like a race with developed limbs and simple brains. Of course, it was just like that. Their brains were not simple at all. On the contrary, they were extremely sinister. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Very quickly, the 3 elders began to arrange their opponents. Rays of light enveloped them so that they could move to their positions. Just as he moved, Tianyun immediately felt a wave of fluctuations coming from in front of him. Without a doubt, his opponent had already attacked. Just like before, he attacked as soon as he stabilized himself. He didn't even bother to say a single word. Tianyun sneered. Playing this kind of move with him was simply courting death. However, He did not do anything. He just waited for the other party to attack and stood there in a daze. Got it? The other party was overjoyed. When he saw that Tianyun did not move at all, he thought that he would definitely be able to defeat Tianyun. Suddenly, an afterimage came from the side and slapped him on the forehead. Pa! The evil spirit race was slapped to the ground and fell quite heavily. His head was extremely dizzy and he didn't know what was going on. You're still a few hundred years too early to play this trick with me, Tianyun sneered. He raised his foot and stomped down, crushing his opponent with a single stomp, turning it into a pile of experience. How could he let go of so many experience points? Furthermore, it was the evil spirit race, so he could not let it go no matter what. Another opponent was easily defeated. Among all the contestants, he was the first to defeat his opponent. The rest were still fighting bitterly, but he easily defeated his opponent in an instant and entered the top 25 in one fell swoop. Amazing! Such a quick sneak attack, but it was used as a counterattack. It's really amazing. That's right. I wonder how this fellow cultivates. How could he be so powerful? He didn't even use the slightest bit of heavenly energy. He only used pure strength. His physique is too strong. They all gasped in admiration, deeply mesmerized by the power displayed by Tianyun. To the evil spirit race, what they worshipped the most was that power. The stronger the power, the more they worshipped it. This was especially true for those who did not rely on the power of the heavenly Tao. Their pure strength was even more shocking. It wasn't just them, even the elders were quite satisfied. To be able to display such tyrannical power without relying on the power of the heavenly energy naturally made them feel extremely satisfied. Tianyun did not care about their praises. He did not like the praises of the evil spirit race. It would only make him feel disgusted. After he finished, the other selections were almost done as well. Out of the 50 to 25, they would continue to compete for the top 12. However, there was one participant who could skip the round. After all, there was no way to split the 25 participants. Now, let's proceed to the next round. However, there will be one participant who will skip the round. We will decide who will skip the round by drawing lots. Elder Tesso waved his hand and a huge bottle fell from the sky. There were several holes in the bottle's body. Now, you can draw your own opponents. Those who don't have a number on them will be considered to have skipped the round. With this kind of luck, the eyes of many participants lit up. If they could successfully draw it, they would be able to smoothly advance. Tianyun did not want to miss the round. This way, he wouldn't be able to kill these bastards. Even so, he still casually went to the bottle and stretched out his hand to grab a token. There was no number on it, so there was no doubt that he would miss the round. Damn it, I actually missed the round, Tianyun shrugged helplessly. He did not even use the luck aura, so how could he miss the round? It seemed like his character points were too high. Now that it had already reached 10,000, he did not even need any luck aura. He was already able to defy the heavens. What the hell, he actually drew a bye. It's good that he drew a bye, at least I won't have to face him. His luck is really too good, he even got a bye. When the other opponents saw Tianyun's token, they all let out wails. They really did not expect Tianyun to draw it. His previous battle results were clearly so eye-catching, but he actually missed the round. Even the goddess of luck was attached to him? After Tianyun drew a bye, he could only stay at the side and watch the competition end. After drawing lots, they immediately entered the competition. Soon, the top 12 were chosen. The problem was that, out of the 13 participants, there had to be one person who was not selected. Tianyun went to draw lots again, and very quickly, he drew a bye again. There was no number on it. When the crowd of evil spirit race saw this, they almost vomited blood. The further they went, the more difficult the opponent became. They couldn't wait to draw a bye so that they could advance easily. But Tianyun had drawn it again. This was the second time he had drawn it. It was fine if he had drawn it before, but why was it him the second time? What the hell, he succeeded the second time. He couldn't have cheated, right? Elder Tesso, we suspect that he cheated. That's right, how could he draw it twice in a row? He must be able to see through this jade bottle. All of the participants were extremely dissatisfied, suspecting that Tianyun had cheated. Are you suspecting that we are helping you cheat? Elder Tesso looked at them coldly and said, this is luck. Unless you reach our level, you won't be able to see through the jade bottle. If there are any heaven-defying treasures, then it's his ability. At least right now, I don't feel that he's using any treasures. The moment Elder Tesso said those words, they all shut up. Even the elders had said so, what else could they say? The three elders also felt helpless. Who would have thought that Tianyun would be able to draw it again? It was one thing to draw it once, but to draw it twice, it really felt like cheating. Either that or his luck was heaven-defying. Chapter 12:19. Tianyun would definitely not be able to see the situation inside the jade bottle, not even with the appraisal eye. There were many divine runes on the jade bottle, making it difficult for those with weak cultivation to see the situation inside. Thus, he had completely relied on luck to get it. Who would have thought that he would be able to get 2 free passes in a row? Even he felt helpless. Thinking about it carefully, his luck was off the charts, so he naturally chose to give up struggling. There's nothing I can do about it. Who asked me to be so lucky? Tianyun felt very helpless. Even if it was an evil spirit puppet, it was still his. As long as he controlled it, it would change the corresponding luck. How could the other evil spirit races have any luck? It would already be good if they weren't unlucky. When Tianyun, who was extremely lucky, joined in, they didn't even have any dregs left. Very quickly, the 12 participants continued to compete. Tianyun was bored on the side and successfully entered the top 7. This time it's time to draw lots to determine the winner. Unless there was an additional participant, they would be able to draw lots until the top 3 appeared. Tianyun reached out and took out the order badge. He saw that there were no numbers on it, proving that he was free. The group of evil spirit races were flabbergasted, completely dumbfounded. It was one thing for him to explode with luck twice, but why was it the same for the third time? 3 consecutive free passes. He definitely had eyes of penetration. Impossible, this guy must be cheating. There must be some kind of treasure. 3 consecutive free passes. This is too exaggerated. That's right, his luck is good. How can it be this good? 3 consecutive free passes, and he doesn't even need to participate in the competition. This luck. They beat their chests and stamped their feet like gorillas, completely infuriated. How could the difference be so great? Others had to risk their lives to barely defeat their opponent. But now, Tianyun was able to advance so easily, and even advanced 3 times in a row. How could he not explode with anger? The 3 elders looked at each other and saw the astonishment in each other's eyes. It was too terrifying for it to be like this 3 times in a row. Originally, the original intention of this free pass was because there were too many participants, so they used this fair method of drawing lots to determine who would advance. Who knew that it was not fair at all? To draw 3 consecutive free passes, it was not normal no matter how they looked at it. Do you have some treasure that can see through this jade bottle? Elder Tesso said doubtfully. I'm not saying that I want to disqualify you, I'm just asking about the situation. If Tianyun was disqualified, it would be equivalent to slapping himself in the face. Previously, he said that even if Tianyun has any treasure, it's his own ability. If he was disqualified, wouldn't that be a slap in the face? Elder, I didn't use any treasure to see through this jade bottle. Tianyun said truthfully. This wasn't a lie, it was the truth. However, how many people would believe this truth was another matter. Teeful to say. I don't believe that he didn't use a treasure to draw 3 times in a row. At this moment, a 5th-level heaven monarch evil spirit race stood out, pointed at him, and said angrily, "He must be using some treasure to advance. This is simply too despicable. You don't need any strength to advance easily." Not only him, but the other contestants were also very unhappy with him. The evil spirit race outside all had a lot of opinions about Lee Tianyun. If this wasn't cheating, then what was? "Oh, in that case, why don't you fight with me?" Lee Tianyun looked at him coldly. He didn't care what evil spirit race thought of him, but he didn't care at all. Since there was an evil spirit race that was willing to extend his head over, then he would not be courteous. If he could slap them twice, then he would definitely not just slap them once. Good, that's exactly what I wanted. The demonic rock heavenly monarch's eyes lit up. So many evil spirit races people were looking at him, and the three elders were also looking at him. If he performed well, he would definitely get bonus points. I wonder if the three elders approve of this battle? Lee Tianyun looked at the three elders and asked. Approve. Elder Taiso didn't even think about it and directly approved it. Now that so many of the evil spirit race members had said so, if Lee Tianyun did not display his strength, he would definitely be criticized. At that time, their fairness would be questioned. Soon after, the two of them stood on the stage and faced each other. The demon rock lord of heaven patted his chest and said coldly, "Come, let me see how strong you are. I want to see how fast and strong you are." "As you wish." Lee Tianyun did not waste any time with him. His dark saint body burst out, and his entire body emitted a faint black light. As he exploded out with his power quickly rose. It was like a black crystal as it streaked across the sky, devouring the land. In the blink of an eye, he had already arrived in front of his opponent and punched. Boom! When the heavy punch landed, it hit his opponent's palm. The demon rock lord of heaven's body only shook slightly, and he took half a step back. He was not killed by the punch. At this time, the demon rock lord of heaven's body was also shining with a black light. No wonder he dared to be so confident. He was quite capable. In terms of physique, the demon rock lord of heaven was also not bad. "So this is your strength? It's just SOSO, boom." Lee Tianyun did not waste any time and punched again. This time, the power was doubled. The demon rock lord of heaven's palm that was blocking was suddenly bent and slapped on his face. "Get down!" Lee Tianyun roared, and the power of his fist was maximized. Once again, his strength increased, and he punched the demon rock lord of heaven heavily on the ground. The demon rock lord of heaven's entire face was stuck to the ground. He was stunned by Lee Tianyun's punch. He did not expect that Lee Tianyun could still erupt with such powerful strength. But before he could resist, Lee Tianyun stomped down and crushed his head, fresh blood splattering everywhere. Although it was not to the extent of an instant kill, this situation was no different from an instant kill. The opponent had no strength to resist. Who else has doubts about my strength? No need to choose, just stand in front of me and challenge me. No, it should be said that the remaining participants can challenge me together. I have no objections at all. If I lose, I will be eliminated. I have no complaints. Lee Tianyun looked at the remaining participants and said with a cold smile, "One-on-one isn't the ability of a son of God. Defeating one isn't ability. Only by defeating all of you at the same time, I feel that I have the qualifications to become a son of God." Lee Tianyun's provocation made the remaining 5 people thoroughly furious. They did not expect that Lee Tianyun would provoke them like this. 1 against 5, wasn't this courting death? Chapter 12:20. Lee Tianyun's request really shocked them, and they wondered if he had been kicked in the head. Either that, or he was too arrogant and conceited. This was 5 powerhouses, not 1. If it was 1 powerhouse they could still deal with it, but if 5 of them joined forces it would be extremely difficult to deal with them. Although many evil spirit race members admired Lee Tianyun's domineering attitude, this was really too unwise. They had to admit that Lee Tianyun's words were indeed a little emotional. 1-on-1 wasn't about ability. 1 against 5 and 1 in the end. This was the real Son of God. The strongest Son of God needed to be strong enough, and not just a little bit weaker than the second place. The three elders looked at each other. They didn't expect such a situation to occur. They had to admit that even they felt that Tianyun was a little too arrogant. A powerhouse with the cultivation of a first-stage Lord of Heaven against 5 fifth and 6th-stage Lord of Heaven. The difficulty could be imagined. The gap was already shocking enough. Even if he had just killed 1 Lord of Heaven, challenging 5 now was really too arrogant. It was good to have confidence, but being too arrogant would be overestimating one's capabilities. Are you that confident? At this time, Elder Soul Cloud, who didn't talk much, looked at him with burning eyes. Yes. If I lose, it will be my own responsibility. I'm not capable enough, and I'm overestimating myself. Tianyun smiled indifferently, revealing a sense of confidence. Elder Soul Cloud nodded and said, "Okay, then I'll let you try." "Thank you, Elder." Tianyun's eyes flickered with a cold light. He naturally wouldn't overestimate himself. He just wanted to prove how strong he was so that they would admire him more. There was no point in being low-key here. It should be said that he definitely wouldn't be low-key in such an occasion. Low-key meant that he would be eliminated and not be accepted. Only the strong would be respected, and the weak would only be despised by others. Elder Soul Cloud's words immediately caused an uproar among the evil spirit race. Tianyun really did this. This was no longer a provocation, but looking down on the 5 opponents in front of him. This kind of arrogance and conceit made them shake their heads, feeling extremely speechless. 1 against 5. Even if he's strong, the other 5 contestants are also very strong. If I can challenge 2 of them at the same time, it would still be acceptable. I can still prove that I'm very strong. Yeah, a 1v2 is already amazing, but he still wants to 1v5. That's not rational. Perhaps he was blinded by victory and thought that he was invincible and didn't fear anyone. More importantly, he wanted to show off in front of the elders. If he lost, he would really be embarrassed to death. No, I should say he's dead meat. The duel was still a competition of life and death. If he survived, he might still lose some face. However, with 5 competitors surrounding him, how could he escape? Wouldn't he be blasted to smithereens? Therefore, when Tianyun decided to do this, they felt that Tianyun was dead for sure. Moreover, he would be dead to the point where nothing would be left. This could be seen from the flames in the eyes of the 5 competitors. They were extremely angry. This was like the feeling of being looked down on, which made them feel a little humiliated. The key was that the elders had agreed. This meant that the elders thought highly of Tianyun's ability and that he could challenge the 5 of them. Elder Soul Cloud, have you really decided? Elder Tesso looked at Elder Soul Cloud doubtfully. He felt that this was a little reckless. It would be good if it was a 1v2 or a 1v3, but now it was a 1v5. How could he continue? I can see some confidence in his eyes. Since he has this confidence, let him give it a try. Elder Soul Cloud said indifferently, I've never rejected this kind of seemingly arrogant junior. If he wins, it's not arrogance. If he loses, it's true arrogance. The other 2 elders nodded helplessly. Since Elder Yun Hun had said so, they chose to agree with him. Immediately, Elder Soul Cloud looked at Tianyun and said, Since you have chosen to fight 1 against 5, do you have any special requests? I can satisfy you. For example, weapons or anything else. As long as it's within reason, I will satisfy you. There was such a huge difference in cultivation, and he still wanted to fight 1 against 5. If he couldn't even satisfy this, how could he compete? Thank you, Elder. But there's no need for that for now. I have my own weapon. Of course, Tianyun had equipment. Whether it was the evil demon god set or the ancient desolate set, they could all be equipped on the evil spirit puppet. Wouldn't these be enough to crush the other treasures? Unless they gave him a heavenly Tao weapon. The problem was, would they give it to him? Definitely not. At most, they would give him a superior grade reincarnation weapon. These weren't enough. All right, let's see what you're capable of. Elder Cloud Soul laughed. Now let the competition begin. The other 5 contestants were already prepared. As soon as the order was given, the 5 contestants roared and took out their strongest weapons. They even unleashed their most powerful ultimate techniques and attacked in a frenzy. Their anger poured out in torrents. The power they displayed now was more for the sake of showing off their abilities. They wanted to kill the arrogant Tianyun. You'll die for being arrogant. Motherf ** Kerr, you actually dared to fight 5 at once. I alone can kill you. I'd like to see what you're capable of. Their hearts were filled with extreme dissatisfaction as they roared angrily. The power that erupted from their bodies was also at its peak. More than a dozen arms behind their backs danced wildly. Some of them held more than a dozen weapons and slashed over. They all wanted to chop Tianyun into minced meat to vent their hatred. Just in time, Tianyun roared at the sky. The ancient desolate suit and the evil spirit's suit were all unleashed. After the evil spirit's suit was unleashed, a black light shot up from his body. In the next moment, he transformed into a gigantic evil demon deity. The 14 arms on his back were like black pillars that could hold up the sky. After transforming into the evil demon deity, he quickly threw out more than a dozen superior-grade reincarnation weapons. He grabbed all of them in his hands and looked extremely shocking. The crowd outside was stunned. More than a dozen superior-grade reincarnation weapons? No wonder he didn't need Elder Soul Cloud's weapons. He had a terrifying amount of wealth. Compared to his opponents, who only had a few superior-grade reincarnation weapons, he had completely crushed them. Just one person had already surpassed the 5 of them in terms of wealth. What was wealth? This was true wealth. The key was to transform into this evil demon deity and give him long-range attacks. Chapter 12:21. Let alone 5, even if there are 10 of us, we can still finish you all. Tianyun laughed as he swung the weapon in his hand. Every time he swung, countless sword or saber lights swept forward. The pitch-black sword or saber lights were like the Grim Reaper's scythe, slicing towards their heads. Countless rays of light seemed to have gone berserk, continuously slashing towards them. When they got close, they were forced to retreat by the light rays. They had to quickly block the attacks, and it was enough to make them suffer. So strong. When they received the attacks, they were forced to take a few steps back. The violent power did not seem like the cultivation of the Lord of Heaven Level 1. It was more like the cultivation of the Lord of Heaven Level 5, or even higher. Tianyun was wearing the Evil Devil God set, and with the support of so many weapons, he also had the Ancient Desolate set, which could increase his strength and power by a lot. Just this alone was enough to crush them. If not for the title of the number 1 earthly monarch of all time, they would have been lying on the ground. This title could only be used by the person himself. It could not be used on the evil spirit puppet. However, it was enough for them to wear the set. First one. Tianyun suddenly appeared in front of a weaker participant and slashed down with his sword. The opponent screamed in pain, and before he could even beg for mercy, he was already cut in half. The first opponent was easily taken care of. In the next moment, Tianyun killed another opponent that was closer to him and slashed his sword down again. Second one. The opponent used his weapon to block, but it was useless. Under the random slashes, he was cut into several pieces. In the blink of an eye, 2 opponents were killed. This scene caused the crowd to gasp. 5 against 1, and they were still killed. Do you know how to play? It was not that they did not know how to play, but Tianyun was too heaven-defying. Perfect defense, perfect attack, perfect speed. Regardless of which, he was several levels stronger than them. So what if his cultivation was not as good as theirs? He had a pile of treasures to crush them. Third one. Yi Tianyun's tall and sturdy body appeared in front of one of the competitors. With a heavy slash of his sword, he easily defeated the competitor. Now that it was 1 against 2, it was as easy as chopping vegetables. The remaining 2 contestants were scared out of their wit. Although they were slightly stronger than the other 3 contestants, they were not much stronger overall. Now that the 3 of them had been easily killed, it would be their turn. How can he be so strong? They were almost scared to tears, but what could they do? Run? Choosing to leave the arena was equivalent to admitting defeat. But with so many clansmen watching, if he admitted defeat, wouldn't he be unable to raise his head? But if he didn't admit defeat, he would definitely die. Ah! Another blood-curdling scream rang out. Only one remained of the 2. This made the originally hesitant contestants run out of the arena, wanting to escape from the battle. As he was running, Yi Tianyun's burly figure was already in front of him. "Where do you want to go?" Yi Tianyun smiled. This smile looked extremely demonic, and when the contestant saw it, he felt as if his heart was about to stop. I admit defeat." The contestant trembled as he shouted these words. "Sorry, there's no such thing as admitting defeat in my place." Yi Tianyun slashed down with his sword. The contestant tried his best to block, but how could he compare to his powerful physique? His physique was already strong enough, and with the support of his equipment, his power was enough to crush them. This time, all 5 contestants had been killed, causing all the evil spirit race to be stunned. The entire process had only lasted for a short while. The originally impossible challenge had been completed so easily, and it was even in an absolutely crushing manner. Compared to Yi Tianyun's strength, they were even more emotional, and that was that treasures were very important. After the battle ended, Yi Tianyun quickly retracted his treasure and returned to his original appearance. Then, he said to the 3 elders, "I did not disappoint you. I have successfully defeated the other opponents." This was no longer a defeat, but a kill. The difference between defeat and kill was only 1 word, but the result was like heaven and earth. The 3 elders were all shocked, and their hearts trembled. In their opinion, even if Yi Tianyun could deal with them, he would have to spend a lot of effort. But now they had all guessed wrongly. Yi Tianyun had used absolute strength to crush them, and he had so many treasures, causing them to be dazzled. Although it was not very high level, compared to the same level, it was already very shocking. "Why do you have so many treasures?" Elder Tesso quickly regained his senses. "I snatched this from the divine realm," Yi Tianyun said simply and rudely. "To be able to snatch so many treasures, it seems that your abilities are not bad." Elder Tesso nodded in satisfaction, and did not feel disgusted by this. Not only would they not object, they would instead support this kind of behavior. Otherwise, Fan Yu would not be so chaotic. To them, the strong preyed on the weak was a normal thing, so they were extremely supportive of their actions. "Not bad, not bad. Now that the Divine Son has been chosen, it's you." Elder Soul Cloud pointed at him and smiled in satisfaction. After this announcement, the evil spirit race outside cheered, all acknowledging Yi Tianyun. To be able to kill 5 contestants in a row proved his strength, which made them admire him even more. Too strong. I thought he was overestimating himself, who knew that he would really succeed. Now the goddess will belong to him. I'm so envious. Not only will he get the goddess, but he will also get supreme glory. But all of this is what he deserves. He is really too strong. All of them were full of admiration, and their previous doubtful attitudes were swept away. They all thought that Yi Tianyun was the strongest. He truly deserved to be called a god's son. Yi Tianyun was not happy at all. After all, he did not like this method very much. Such a cruel elimination system made one's heart turn cold just thinking about it. Although this method could select the truly outstanding disciples, they were definitely cold and heartless disciples. To be able to escape from so many evil spirit race, they were all baptized in blood. One could imagine the cruelty. Thank you for your recognition, Elder. Tianyun cupped his hands and said, I have to say that you are the most outstanding divine son in history. There has never been anyone who challenged 5 contestants in one go. Elder Tesso smiled faintly and said, however, you will have a small test later. Let's see if you can succeed. There's a test? Tianyun frowned. Didn't he defeat everyone? Why was there a test? Actually, this test is very simple. Just take her away and see how much effort you have to put in to control her. Elder Tesso pointed at the goddess and said. Chapter 12:22. Take the goddess away? Tianyun looked towards the goddess and happened to meet her gaze. Her gaze was still filled with disgust and disgust. So what if he got first place? She was still filled with disgust and disgust. If her opinion of him had improved, then he would have been damned. There was only one way to resolve the damage caused by the evil spirit race to the divine spirit race, and that was to exterminate the evil spirit race. The divine spirit race had always been captured and imprisoned, and now they had even been reduced to slaves and tools for reproduction. It was impossible for her to have a good impression of them. That's right, the goddess's cultivation is not low. It won't be easy for you to take her away. Elder Tesso smiled and said, I remember that last time, it took that brat a month to bring the goddess away. Many of the evil spirit race nodded. Some of them had seen it several times and were very interested in it. This was like a small game after a competition to entertain them. Tianyun immediately understood what was going on. The goddess's cultivation was indeed not bad. She had the cultivation of the Lord of Heaven level 8. It seemed like she was imprisoned, but that was only because she was suppressed by the Divine Lord's power. Most of her power was not suppressed, especially the holy light emitted from her body. This was the light attribute energy, which was quite harmful to the evil spirit race. Thus, he had to suppress it completely. Otherwise, forget about taking it away, he wouldn't even be able to touch it. So that's how it is. Tianyun lifted his foot and walked towards the goddess, and soon he was in front of her. Looking at the goddess from a close distance, she looked even more beautiful. It seemed that it was because of the light attribute that she looked so holy. The more holy she was, the more the evil spirit race wanted to sully her. The goddess stared at him coldly, but she did not say anything. It was unknown if she was unable to speak because she was imprisoned, or if she did not want to speak. This holy light is indeed powerful, but I can still endure it. Tianyun was not afraid at all. The evil spirit puppet had consumed the dark spirit fruit before, so it had a suppressive effect in this aspect. In addition to the evil demon god set, it could suppress this holy power even more. Unless the goddess's cultivation was a level higher, she would be able to easily suppress it. Shortly after, he sized up the goddess's body, and the holy light quickly enveloped her, causing the surface of the evil spirit puppet's body to burn. It was as if he had been scorched by fire. The power of suppression was astonishing. However, it just so happened that the opposing power could strengthen the evil spirit race's bloodline. This had to be said to be a strange phenomenon. However, if he thought about it carefully, he would feel that it was normal. Light conquers darkness. It seemed like there was no mistake. Actually, more often than not, light begets darkness, and darkness begets light. This was a deeper level of power. When combined, it could increase the power of the bloodline. In normal battles, it was true that they were a bit of a counter to each other, but in terms of combining them, they were able to reach a perfect level. After hugging the goddess, Zhang Xian's powerful dark energy began to suppress her. Soon, the divine light released by the goddess was easily suppressed. It seemed that there was no longer any damage. That's enough. Tianyun smiled and looked at the goddess in his arms. Her beautiful eyes were filled with disgust and despair. After her power was suppressed, it meant that she would be slaughtered by the evil spirit race in front of her. In the end, she would even have to give birth to their child. That was even more disgusting. The most terrifying thing was that she could not refuse. So fast. They were stunned again, but they immediately understood what was going on. There was no doubt that the dark spirit fruit was of great help. The dark spirit fruit was a dark attribute divine fruit. After consuming it, one's dark attribute would be greatly enhanced. Since it was stronger than the goddess's holy light, they could naturally easily control it. I thought I would make a fool of myself. I didn't expect it to be settled in one go. Looks like their next generation will definitely be a super genius. Yi Tianyun's ability to easily subdue the goddess's energy made their eyes light up. Just think about it, with such violent power and astonishing talent, the next generation would definitely be astonishing. Moreover, the next generation that they had given birth to before was already very good, let alone the descendants of such super geniuses. The other evil spirit race were also shocked, but after the shock, they felt that it was a little boring. They all wanted to see Yi Tianyun make a fool of himself. It was basically like a small game after a big battle. There was no time limit, no failure limit, it was just a very casual attempt. Who would have thought that he would succeed on his first try? It was indeed beyond their expectations. However, it ended too quickly. It was over right away. There was nothing to see at all. Elder, I have already subdued the goddess, Yi Tianyun said with a smile. At the same time, he could feel the goddess in his arms twist slightly, but her strength was not strong. It was just a slight movement. With the support of the elder's power, she was unable to break free from the shackles no matter what. Not bad, your performance is very good. Now we will appoint you as the divine child of subjugation. Your status is second only to us elders. At the same time, we will arrange for you to go to the Meng Ling Divine Palace to cultivate and further strengthen yourself to serve our clan. Elder Tesso gave him a pretty good official position, one that was second only to the elders, causing many evil spirit race people to be extremely envious. However, Yi Tianyun deserved it. After all, so many evil spirit race people witnessed Yi Tianyun's strength with their own eyes. Thank you, Elder. Yi Tianyun's eyes flickered. The Meng Ling Divine Palace was an internal divine palace, and there were even more secrets inside. It was equivalent to a deeper understanding of the evil spirit race's situation, just as he had hoped before. Of course, your most important duty now is to nurture the next generation. Elder Tesso flicked his hand, and a token landed in Yi Tianyun's hand. This is the goddess's imprisonment token. It can suppress her power. Unless you have the power to suppress her, you cannot undo it. Now, I will give this token to you. I hope that you will make good use of it and quickly give birth to the next generation. Yi Tianyun received the token and said with a smile, Understood, Elder. With this token, he could easily undo the shackles without needing the slightest bit of strength. However, it was impossible for them to become slaves. The goddess would not become slaves. Those slaves would only become slaves after being oppressed or threatened. As for the divine spirit race, they would rather die than become slaves of the evil spirit race. After explaining everything, the godchild selection finally came to an end. The surrounding evil spirit race people left one after another. Yi Tianyun hugged the goddess and flew towards the Meng Ling Divine Palace. The elders had already arranged a residence for him, and he would cultivate there after that. In the evil spirit race, the Meng Ling Divine Palace was equivalent to the residence of the Elders' Divine Palace. Chapter 12:23. When Yi Tianyun brought the goddess to his residence, he quickly closed the door and observed the inside and outside. At the same time, he also put up several layers of divine runes. This would prevent the evil spirit race from probing in. If they were spied on, it would be troublesome. The goddess opened her eyes and saw that Yi Tianyun was continuously carving divine runes and turning the place inside and out. She felt even more disgusted. Especially when she thought about how she would be taken advantage of later, she felt very unwilling and angry. However, no matter how unwilling and angry she was, it was meaningless. She could not resist, nor could she struggle. She could only accept it, and she did not have the strength to resist at all. After preparing everything, Tianyun came in front of the goddess, and the goddess happened to look at him. Her beautiful eyes revealed a bit of anger and disgust. She opened her mouth slightly, but could not say a word. Want to talk? When Tianyun saw the goddess open her mouth, he took out the token and slightly removed the restriction on her mouth. As soon as it was removed, the goddess immediately cursed, "You beasts, kill me if you have the ability! You killed my people and absorbed my people's blood essence. You are a group of things that are worse than beast. Your race is simply disgusting to the extreme. Sooner or later, our divine spirit race will destroy you." After removing the restriction, the goddess immediately vented her anger, and her tone was filled with extreme hatred. However, she could only curse angrily. She could not do anything else, and could only vent her anger through her mouth. If words could hurt people, Tianyun would have been sprayed into ashes long ago. Well said, the evil spirit race must be completely eradicated. They are all a group of disgusting fellows, Tianyun said with a smile. The goddess, who originally wanted to continue cursing, was stunned when she heard Tianyun speak like that. Why did he not speak according to the rules? Logically speaking, he should have slapped her, punched her, or kicked her. Even if he did not hit her, he would at least retort a few words. Who knew that he would admit that he was disgusting and deserved to be exterminated? For a moment, she did not know what to say. What's wrong? You're not going to continue? Of course, Tianyun knew why she was so shocked, but he wanted to hear the goddess continue to vent her anger. He didn't know what else she could say. Kill me if you can. The goddess closed her eyes. She thought that Tianyun was teasing her. After scolding her enough, he would give her a good beating. Perhaps this was what he liked. Kill you? Why would I want to kill you? Tianyun chuckled. Soon after, his figure flashed and he emerged from the demonic spirit puppet's body. The goddess felt an unfamiliar aura appear beside her. She couldn't help but open her eyes. When she saw that it was a human, she was shocked. Human race? The goddess felt that this was inconceivable. She did not know why there were humans here. It was impossible for the human race to cooperate with the evil spirit race. As a member of the divine spirit race, she naturally knew the situation of the evil spirit race very well. Cooperating with the human race was as uncomfortable as killing them. Was it possible to cooperate with a low-level race? That's right, it's the human race, Tianyun said with a smile. Later, I'll release your shackles. Don't run around and don't talk nonsense. Listen to my instructions. Do you understand? The goddess looked at him in disbelief. Soon after, she looked at the demonic spirit puppet beside her, indicating what he meant. You're talking about this guy, right? It's my puppet. To put it bluntly, it's just a puppet. Thanks to this puppet, I was able to successfully sneak in. Otherwise, let alone this place, I probably wouldn't even be able to enter the gate. Tianyun explained. He took the token and patted her shoulder. Following that, the token's energy enveloped the goddess, and the shackles on her body immediately disappeared. After the goddess released the shackles, she really didn't do anything. After all, she believed him and definitely wouldn't do anything. This is really a puppet? I've never seen such a lifelike puppet before. Even its aura is exactly the same. I know puppeteers, but they can't do this at all. They can look similar, but their auras are difficult to imitate. She walked in front of the demonic spirit puppet and continuously patted it. It really felt exactly the same. That depends on the technique. My unique skill is naturally not bad. Tianyun randomly made up an excuse. Unique skill? The goddess's beautiful eyes flickered. Teach me your unique skill. If you want anything, just tell me. I'm willing to exchange it with you. To her, as long as she had this unique skill, she would be able to deceive the demonic spirit race. When the time came, she would be able to save her people. Cough cough. You can't learn this. You need a special ability. Tianyun coughed lightly. Special ability? What special ability? The goddess was puzzled. In short, you can't learn it. Don't ask any more, Tianyun said. If you don't say it, how do you know you can't learn it? Although the demonic spirit race is not very strong, at least in terms of cultivation, we are definitely not weaker than other races. The goddess was very confident. There was no martial art that they could not cultivate. Actually, I don't know how to cultivate either. It should be fine. Tianyun shrugged helplessly. You're playing with me. The goddess was immediately about to explode. She originally thought that she could obtain a martial art that could kill the demonic spirit race. Who knew that the other party did not have it? I'm just saying it casually. In any case, I can be considered your savior, right? If it really is the demonic spirit race, what do you think the consequences will be? Tianyun looked at her and smiled. Her face immediately turned pale. If that was really the case, she would not even be able to say half a word. Thank you. As long as you save me, the demonic spirit race will definitely repay you, the goddess said gratefully. Not for now. Tianyun shook his head. What? The goddess was startled. She asked doubtfully, Didn't you say that you would save me? When did I say that I was going to save you? I just saved you in passing. Tianyun looked at her and said, If I let you go, how am I going to survive here? I want to infiltrate completely and thoroughly understand the entire demonic spirit race. At that time, I will eradicate them bit by bit. Tianyun did not mind revealing his plan. After all, the divine spirit race had a good relationship with him, especially since they were absolute enemies with the demonic spirit race. They would definitely not betray him. What you mean is, by using the position of the godchild, you will be able to obtain more power, and then use this power to plan and eliminate those demonic spirit race. The goddess's beautiful eyes lit up. Looks like you're not stupid. If you leave, my position as the godchild will definitely be ruined. So you have to endure it. Since you're with me, no one will be able to touch you. At that time, I can even use this position to save your clansmen. Why not? Tianyun smiled slightly. The goddess excitedly hugged Tianyun and said excitedly, This is great. This time, our imprisoned clansmen can be saved. Such an excited goddess caused Tianyun to cough lightly. Lady Goddess, that man and woman should not touch each other. Ah! The goddess hurriedly retracted her pretty face, but she quickly recovered. She looked at him and said, Treat it as your reward. What? Tianyun almost spat out. He looked at her and said, This is still a reward? I think it's better to give some martial arts or something. Chapter 12:24. Tianyun knew that this was not a reward at all. In fact, she only said that to cover up her embarrassment. However, he did not really want this kind of reward. Was a hug a reward? Wasn't this thinking too highly of him? Don't be so angry. These are not the main points, okay? Let's discuss the plan. Tianyun coughed, indicating that she should not be so agitated. It was just a small joke. The goddess looked at him angrily, but soon after, with a pff sound, she laughed out loud. No matter what, thank you very much. Thank you very much. The dissatisfaction in the goddess's beautiful eyes changed to extreme gratitude. If not for Tianyun, she would have definitely been humiliated. Thinking about it, she felt a lingering fear. There's no need to thank me. You just need to help me, or stay here and don't wander around. That is already the greatest gratitude you can give me. Tianyun laughed. No, I won't just stay here. I want to help. The goddess's eyes flickered with killing intent. She would naturally kill the evil spirit race without mercy. You can help, but if you are discovered not staying here, wouldn't you be exposed? Tianyun frowned. Don't worry about that. Just put me away. It's just like how the evil spirit race owns slaves. Keep them in the living ring. It's not rare to see someone carrying them around. The goddess said with a faint smile, so there's no need to worry about people coming to check on me often. According to their views, I already belong to you, so it's normal for me to be able to bring it with me. Tianyun nodded. That was indeed the case. To put it bluntly, the goddess was equivalent to his slave. There was nothing wrong with bringing her along. Alright, we can basically take action now. Let's start by saving your clansmen. This way, it will be easier to work together. Tianyun felt that the best way now was to save the Divine Spirit Race's clansmen. This way, it would be much easier to join forces with the outside world. Against such a colossus, without the support of some power, it would be difficult for him to eliminate it alone. Unless his cultivation was heaven-defying, he would be able to kill it with a single slap. However, his current cultivation level was still relatively weak. It was very difficult for him to deal with a late-stage Divine Lord, and he might not even be able to beat them. Therefore, the most important thing right now was to first save the people, then fish up a huge amount of experience points, and finally level up his physique, then transcend the tribulation and break through to the Lord of Heaven. As long as he broke through to the Lord of Heaven, everything would be greatly improved. Apart from the increase in his cultivation, he could also purchase a brand new set from the Sin Market. This was the main point. The effects of the set were so powerful, how could he not exchange for it? I don't know where to save my people. The goddess's excitement immediately cooled down. She had been captured and brought here for so long, but she knew nothing about this place. It was truly sad. Alright, it's fine. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go look for it now. Tianyun brought her into the space inside the evil spirit race's body. It was extremely spacious and could accommodate as many people as he wanted. Is this the interior of your puppet? The goddess turned her head and looked around. There were tables and chairs here, and it looked more like a leisure place. That's right. Let's go now. Tianyun controlled the evil spirit puppet to walk outside, and after opening the door, a respectful voice immediately came to his ear. Godson, may I know where you are going? An earthly monarch realm guard stood beside him. Immediately, Tianyun's body flashed and appeared in front of the guard. After looking at the guard was about to shout something, but his eyes became dull. She followed him back into the space quickly. The goddess still didn't know what was going on. She could see the situation outside, but she didn't know what was going on. Where is the divine spirit race being imprisoned? Tianyun asked directly. I don't know. The guard's words almost made him vomit blood. He didn't know? You don't know? Don't you know the situation of the divine spirit race being imprisoned? Tianyun frowned and asked. I don't know. Only the elders and above know where the divine spirit race is imprisoned. We have no right to know. The guard said truthfully. You don't even know where the deacons are? Tianyun was puzzled. Yes, we don't know. Only the elders know. The guard said affirmatively. Seems like there's no other way. Tianyun smiled bitterly and said, We can only search one by one. We have no idea where the divine spirit race is imprisoned. You got it just like that? What martial art did you use just now? How could he be so obedient? The goddess was shocked. To her, this ability was even more shocking. That's right. Look at me and you will know what martial art it is. Tianyun looked at her. The goddess didn't avoid his gaze. It seemed like she wanted to learn something from him. Come on, try it quickly. I have never seen such a martial art before. Maybe I can learn it, the goddess said seriously. Tianyun shrugged helplessly. This guy really wanted to learn other people's skills. Forget it. Not everyone can control it. Tianyun said in a deep voice. Now that the information is cut off, we can only find it ourselves. I see. The goddess's eyes dimmed. She was a little disappointed. Her interest immediately sank. Compared to these abilities, she was more concerned about the situation of her people. Don't worry. I will take a look first. Tianyun took out the evil spirit race's map. The names of the major places were clearly marked on it. The place where the divine spirit race was imprisoned was undoubtedly similar to a dungeon. After looking at it, the names were all very artistic. It was really hard to tell which was the prison. This, where you were imprisoned before, is there anything special about it? Itianyun looked up at the goddess and asked. Characteristics, huh? In order to suppress our power, they chose a place with a very dense darkness attribute, basically sealing off all the places, and even more ruthlessly suppressing our power. Other than that, there are no clues. She shook her head. No matter how hard she tried to remember, it was useless. She was imprisoned all the time. A place with a very strong dark attribute. Itianyun glanced at it and quickly locked onto several places. However, he didn't know where it was. He thought he would find it immediately. He didn't expect there to be so many choices. By the way, tell me the name of your clansman, Itianyun said as he thought about the evil spirit wheel that he got from the evil spirit wheel. Name. My name is Ji Shuelian. Just call me Shuelian. Ji Shuelian smiled. Itianyun's face darkened. He couldn't help but slap her forehead. I asked for the name of your people, not your name. Chapter 12:25. After being slapped on the head, Ji Shuelian laughed awkwardly. I myself can be considered a member of the divine spirit race, and why do you know the name of my clansmen? Even if I tell them my name, they won't let me go. I know they definitely won't let you go, but right now I just want to ask for your name. The more special the name of your clansman, the better, the stranger the name, the better. Or do you have their belongings on you, or do you have their belongings? That's even better. The evil spirit will search for people either by name or by wearing something. After all, if the name was the same, it would not be easy to find. Wearing something? I have this. Ji Shuelian took out a small jade pendant and handed it to Itianyun, saying, This is my brother's jade pendant. After I was dragged out, he gave this jade pendant to me, saying that it was a protective talisman and that he hoped that I would be safe and sound. Her eyes reddened as she said sadly, I wonder how my brother is doing now. I hope he's fine. Itianyun took the jade pendant and comforted her. It's definitely fine. I have to say that it has indeed blessed you with your safety. Otherwise, you would have ended up like the other goddesses and become their reproduction tool. Ji Shuelian's face paled. That was indeed the case. Thinking about it carefully, she felt a sense of fear. Following that, Itianyun placed the jade pendant into the evil spirit wheel. Very quickly, the evil spirit wheel released a light. Following that, a guiding force appeared and pulled him forward. Itianyun's eyes lit up. There was no doubt that there would be a clue soon. There's a clue, let's go. Itianyun immediately controlled the evil spirit puppet to fly forward. At the same time, he controlled the guard to stand there obediently, no different from before. Along the way, when the guards saw him, they would greet him respectfully. They really treated this place as their own home. No one would think that he was a fake, so the journey was smooth sailing. If he had appeared in his original body, he would have been seen long ago. His original body was very strong, but there were so many evil spirit races here, and they were heavily guarded. There was no way he could hide from their detection. In particular, there were quite a number of god lords. If there was a slight flaw, it would be discovered. Did you find my little brother? Ji Shuelian hurriedly asked. There's a clue. Whether it's true or not, we'll know soon enough. Itianyun followed the pulling force and flew forward. Soon, he left the temple and flew towards another region. Although he had left the shrine, the guards outside were not bad. It was comfortable to have the evil spirit puppet. After flying for a while, he passed through a few regions and arrived at a strange region, Moonluan City. No matter how he thought about it, he could never have imagined that the god spirit race would be imprisoned here. Moonluan City was a gathering place for the royal family. To put it bluntly, it was a place where a bunch of evil spirit race members with extremely pure bloodlines lived. The status here was undoubtedly higher, and relatively speaking, the security here was even tighter. Of course, no matter how strict the guards were, they would all give way to someone of his status. Divine Son? Welcome to Moon Luan City. When the guards checked his identity token, they immediately welcomed him in respectfully. The bloodline of the chosen Divine Sons might not be equal to that of royalty, but it was definitely not bad. His status was second only to the elders. How bad could it be? After entering, he followed the guiding force and went forward to investigate. He had only taken a few steps when he heard a powerful voice. Divine Son? I never thought that the Divine Son would come to Moon Luan City. His appearance is really handsome, his tall and sturdy body is filled with explosive power, it's really great. Tianyun turned his head to look. The tall and sturdy evil spirit race was looking at him with shining eyes. Actually, this was a female evil spirit race, and she looked like a young girl who was infatuated with him, sizing him up. The evil spirit race stuck close to him, and his sturdy muscles collided with his arm. He blinked his eyes and smiled. Divine Son, do you want to make a trip to my residence? Your bloodline shouldn't be given to that slut, you should give some to us. She stretched out her hand and stroked his chest, feeling a little tempting. In reality, it was not tempting at all. Instead, it made him feel nauseous. Why was it that both men and women of the evil spirit race looked so tall and sturdy? Especially since he was winking at him, he had the urge to kill someone. Cough cough, thank you for your good intentions, but there's no need for now. Tianyun trembled slightly and left her embrace. He did not dare to make a move here. Whether it was the surrounding evil spirit race or her identity, he could not casually touch them. Moon Luan City was the place where the royal family lived, and there were more females here. The evil spirit race in front of him had a cultivation of the 7th level of the Lord of Heaven, so he believed that his status was definitely not simple. Especially since there were 2 followers behind him, it was even more obvious that she was not simple. Divine Son, don't tell me you don't even give me a chance? Her huge eyes were filled with pity, causing Tianyun's scalp to go numb. If it was a delicate young girl, he might have been soft-hearted. Seeing such a rough physique and voice, he couldn't soften his heart no matter what. Thank you for your good intentions, but I have something important to do now. We'll talk about it next time. After he finished speaking, Tianyun turned around and ran. How could he dare to stay any longer? If he was really dragged away, he would definitely be disgusted to death. After he fled as if he was flying, she did not chase after him. Instead, she said hatefully, "Those divine spirit race bitches are so easily bewitched. As long as we capture that divine spirit race, all of them will look like they have lost their souls and want to find divine spirit race women. Let's go back and viciously torture those bitches to vent our anger." Yes, Princess Tiango. The follower beside her nodded and respectfully followed beside her. After getting rid of Princess Tiangu, Tianyun continued to follow the pulling force and walked forward. The further he went, the stronger the feeling became, proving that Ji Shuilian's younger brother was willing to be nearby. The strange thing was that no one recognized him along the way. Only that Princess Tiangu from before recognized him. It seemed that not all of the evil spirit race had gone to watch that great battle. Only a portion of them had gone to watch, and some of them were not interested at all. Naturally, they would not recognize him. In addition, this was the residence of the imperial family, so they were even more arrogant and did not pay much attention to these things. Therefore, it was quite normal that they did not know him. Occasionally, there would be 1 or 2 who knew him, but most of them did not know him. This was especially so for the men. They could not be bothered to pay attention to him. Instead, it was the women who paid more attention to him. They also wanted to give birth to outstanding descendants, and the Divine Son was undoubtedly very attractive to them. However, just because they liked him did not mean that Tianyun liked him. As he followed the pulling force forward, He quickly arrived at the foot of a mansion. He raised his head and saw a few large words engraved on it. Heavenly Grid Mansion? Could it be? Chapter 12:26. Heavenly Grid Palace? What a coincidence! Etienne's face darkened. He didn't want to touch her anymore after knowing that she was a princess. Although he hated the evil spirit race, he couldn't kill just because of her identity. He didn't want to cause any chaos. From the looks of it, it was a mistake not to make a move. From the looks of it, the Heavenly Grid Palace was still imprisoning the divine spirit race. But from the looks of it, it wasn't a special place to imprison them. There was only one possibility. As a princess, she had captured a few divine spirit race beings and brought them to her house. What's wrong? Did you find my brother? Ji Shuilian was confused when she saw Etienne standing there in a daze. I found him. He's in the Heavenly Grid Palace, Etienne said. In the Heavenly Grid Palace? Ji Shuilian's eyes lit up. She didn't expect to find him so quickly. The evil spirit race had so many cities. It would be very difficult to find her brother here. She found him so easily in such a short time. How could she not be surprised? But you have to be mentally prepared. After saying that, Etienne quickly found a place to hide. At the same time, he put away the evil spirit puppet. He wouldn't use the evil spirit puppet to sneak in. If he was discovered, it would be troublesome. Although he could escape, the evil spirit puppet would be wasted. He wouldn't do such a thing. He had experienced the convenience of the evil spirit puppet. They could easily walk into so many areas, and the guards didn't stop them at all. If it was any other evil spirit race, they wouldn't even be able to step into the Moon Luan city. Ji Shuilian was silent. She knew what Etienne meant. She had to be mentally prepared if anything happened to her brother. This wasn't a prison cell. He was caught by accident. As for whether he had just been caught or had been here for a while, she wasn't sure. After the two came out, Etienne said to her, "Don't struggle. Stay in the living ring. I'll let you out after I go in." You want to sneak in yourself? You're just an earth monarch. I'm the Lord of Heaven. Go in, Etienne said. Ji Shuilian was silent for a moment before she nodded her head and said, "I'll listen to you." She did not resist and was sucked into the living creature ring. It was undeniable that Ji Shuilian's cultivation was relatively strong, but for him, his concealment ability was only effective here. After that, he began to investigate the Heavenly Grid Mansion. After a quick scan, the appraisal I was able to clearly see most of the situation inside. There were quite a number of experts inside. There were quite a few experts from the Lord of Heaven, but there were no divine monarchs. Since she was called the Heavenly Grid Princess, there would definitely be a divine monarch in the Heavenly Grid residence. In the evil spirit race, those who had the cultivation of a divine lord were basically equivalent to elders. As the daughter of an elder, it was not strange for her to be addressed as a princess. Furthermore, she was of royal blood, so she was naturally worthy of being addressed as a princess. There are no god lords. Etienne's eyes lit up. If there were no god lords, then there was no need for him to worry. The divine lord was the biggest problem now. It was not that the divine lord was very powerful, but that he could not kill him instantly. If he did not kill him instantly, he would attract the attention of the surrounding people. Then it would become extremely troublesome. Hence, he was confident that he could kill him instantly if he was within the Divine Lord level. Especially when he launched a sneak attack, he could easily kill him. After that, his figure gradually disappeared. He immediately used the Concealment Divine skill. His Concealment Divine skills level was not considered high, but only those with cultivation above the 5th level of the Lord of Heaven would have a chance of discovering him. This chance of discovering him was not something that could be discovered just by using one's spiritual sense. Instead, as one's cultivation increased, it would become easier to detect him. If one was at the 6th or 7th level of the Lord of Heaven, although they could detect him, it would be difficult to detect him if there were no unusual movements. If one wanted to easily destroy his concealment divine skill, it would be difficult to see through it unless they were at the Divine Lord level. The strongest person in the heavenly grid mansion was only at the 6th level of the Lord of Heaven. To him, it was not difficult at all. Then, an invisible figure flipped over the wall of the heavenly grid mansion and easily slipped into the heavenly grid mansion. As soon as he entered, he happened to meet a strong person from the Lord of Heaven. He seemed to be walking around in boredom. He did not sense any unusual movements around him. Etienne's eyes turned cold. He quickly flashed behind the Lord of Heaven. A long spear appeared in his hand, and he pierced through the Lord of Heaven's chest. Although the Lord of Heaven's chest was pierced through, he did not die. However, a surge of power instantly exploded in his chest. Even his body exploded and turned into a pile of blood mist. He had used almost all his strength and compressed most of the power into a single point. Naturally, he could kill someone instantly. Even if it was the Lord of Heaven, he would still die. He waved his hand and the blood mist was quickly collected. There was no trace of it at all. It could be said that no one had noticed it. If he did not even have this ability, there was no need for him to enter. There is an energy fluctuation? At this time, the evil spirit race, who was in one of the houses, suddenly felt a slight fluctuation coming from the side. As it was too close, he could more or less feel it. Although Etienne was very careful, there was still a little energy fluctuation. However, it was precisely because it was too little that it would only attract one strong person to sense it, and it was because it was too close. If it was anyone else, they would probably even feel it in this area. Etienne also felt the evil spirit race coming over. His figure quickly disappeared and hid to the side. Following closely behind, a 6th-stage Heaven Monarch expert walked out of the house and looked around suspiciously. That's strange. I clearly felt a trace of an unfamiliar wave just now. Why is there nothing going on? He scratched his head. When he saw that there was nothing, he turned around and was about to return to his room. The moment he turned around, a figure appeared behind him and another spear pierced through him. The evil spirit race immediately felt a sense of danger coming from behind him. By the time he turned around, it was already too late. Not only did Etienne erupt with all his strength, he also suppressed the other party's heavenly energy. In an instant, more than half of the other party's heavenly energy was suppressed, and his cultivation was reduced by a lot. He could not resist at all. Under the suppression, even the speed at which he turned around to resist was much slower. Therefore, without any surprise, the terrifying divine spear pierced through his body. Just like before, Etienne twisted the spear in his hand with all his might. Under the rapid rotation, it turned into a pile of blood mist. Etienne moved very quickly, and the blood mist was quickly sucked away, leaving no trace behind. Another Lord of Heaven was easily dealt with. Originally, there were only 3 Lord of Heaven in the heavenly grid residence, but in the blink of an eye, half of them were gone. At the same time, he left a trace of fluctuation. This time, he deliberately left it behind. As expected, this slight fluctuation immediately attracted the attention of the experts in the distance, and they quickly came out of the room. Strange, I clearly felt a fluctuation. Before he finished speaking, a cold light pierced through his chest, and everything ended like dust falling to the ground. The 3 Lord of Heaven in the heavenly grid residence were easily dealt with, and there was not a single strong guard in the heavenly grid residence. Chapter 12:27. The Lord of Heaven of the heavenly character house was easily taken care of. What was left was for Etienne to swagger in. There was no problem at all. The most difficult to deal with was the Lord of Heaven. As for the earthly lords, he had the number 1 earthly lord in all of history. Why would he be afraid of them? The power of the heavenly law could turn even earthly lords into trash. They did not even have the chance to beg for mercy, let alone escape. Therefore, after dealing with them, he went straight to the place where they were imprisoned. He swaggered in and killed every earthly lord he saw. Since they were all easily taken care of, and he could earn some experience points, why not? Soon, he came to the place that the traction force had led him to, the secret room that led underground. Before he even went down, he felt a thick dark element energy surging up from below, and it was very strong. This feeling was definitely not something that an ordinary expert could create. To him, only someone with a cultivation level of at least a divine lord could create such a thing. But thinking about it, it was very normal. There was a divine lord here. How could he not create this secret room? Then, he quickly went down. The deeper he went, the stronger the dark element energy became. Without a doubt, there was a dark core buried below. This was not surprising. As the residence of a divine lord, it was very normal for there to be a dark core buried below. When he reached the depths, there was a heavy door. However, this door did not need any key. It only needed to be lightly tapped on the wall, and the door made a rumbling sound and slowly rose up. The first thing he sensed wasn't the azure hell, but the strong smell of blood drifting over from within. Then, he saw a few figures nailed to the metal frame. The nails on their bodies were not ordinary nails, but made of dark element materials. The ones nailed to the frame were not from any race, but the divine spirit race. There were both men and women. Golden blood kept flowing out of the nails. Unexpectedly, the blood of the divine spirit race was a light gold color. This blood was also glowing with a faint white light. It looked like it was filled with light element energy. "Kill us if you can, you disgusting race. Our clansmen will avenge us." When they saw someone come in, they immediately started shouting. But when they saw who it was, they were dumbfounded. The one who entered was not the evil spirit race, but the human race. He was extremely shocked. Etienne's gaze immediately locked onto one of them. He looked very similar to Ji Shuilian, and was undoubtedly Ji Shuilian's younger brother. Human race? When they caught sight of Etienne, all of them were dumbfounded. For a human to appear here, this was simply inconceivable. After Etienne glanced ahead, he stretched out his hand, and Ji Shuilian popped out of the living ring. "What? Have you found my little brother?" As Ji Shuilian was in the living ring, she did not know much about the outside world. It was unlike the evil spirit puppet space, where she could see what was happening outside. Sister? Ji Shuilian heard a shocked voice, causing her to subconsciously look over. When she saw the cruel scene before her, her eyes reddened, and she immediately rushed forward. "Little brother." She quickly arrived in front of her younger brother, Ji Tianzi, and looked up and down at the nails on Ji Tianzi's body. Then, she looked at the nails on her companion's body. Her eyes were bloodshot, and she was even more furious. "Who did this to you?" She gritted her teeth, and intense anger gushed out from her beautiful eyes. Her slender hands could still erupt with astonishing power. "It's that Princess Tiangu. She ordered people to capture us. Not only did she torture us, she even released our blood essence to bathe herself." Ji Tianzi thought for a moment, then hurriedly said, "Sister, hurry up and escape. This is the Divine Lord's mansion. If that Divine Lord comes back, you won't be able to escape. Big sister won't escape. I'll bring you guys out." Ji Shuilian's eyes were bloodshot. How could she abandon her brother and escape? Then, she sized up the nails on their bodies and immediately analyzed. "This is a dark stone nail, something that can suppress our strength. It's not difficult to take it out. I'll help you take it out now." Ji Shuilian reached out and grabbed the dark stone nail. Following that, a surging force came out from the dark stone nail and shook her small hand away. As expected of the Divine Lord's power, a group of damned evil spirit race. Ji Shuilian angrily grabbed the dark stone nail and pulled it out fiercely. The power inside started to rebound, injuring her small hand and causing blood to flow down her arm. However, Ji Shuilian didn't mind. As if she didn't feel anything at all, she continued to pull out the dark stone nail. When he pulled it out, Ji Tianzi frowned and said worriedly, "Sister, let's hurry up and leave. If we're late, it'll be too late. This dark stone nail has a reaction. If you pull it out, Princess Tiange will know." "I'm not leaving. If I don't save you, I won't leave." Ji Shuilian gritted her teeth and slowly pulled out the dark stone nail. Due to the problem of mutual restraint, her small hand was constantly being corroded by the energy on it, but she still endured the pain and forcefully pulled it out. Even she wouldn't be able to pull out this dark stone nail that had been strengthened by the Divine Lord's power. Especially after being imprisoned for so long, his strength had been weakened, making it even more difficult to pull out. After pulling out one, she planned to continue pulling out the second. At this moment, her delicate hand was already dripping with blood, as if it had been burnt. "Elder sister." Ji Tianzi felt his heart ache when he saw how hard his sister was working. "To you, the restraining effect is too severe. It's an existence that completely restrains you." Tianyun picked up a dark stone nail and examined it carefully. "That's for sure. These fellows from the evil spirit race have always been studying how to suppress us and control our divine spirit race. As long as we are suppressed by this dark stone nail, we won't be able to unleash our strength." Just as Ji Shuilian was about to continue pulling out the second dark stone nail, Tianyun grabbed her wrist, signaling her to stop. "Let me take it. It can restrain you, but it won't restrain me." After Tianyun finished speaking, he reached out to grab the dark stone nail and pulled it out. Although he didn't have a light attribute physique, the power of the Divine Lord's blessing would still rebound. However, he didn't care at all. He quickly pulled it out and forcefully pulled out the dark stone nail with his violent strength. Ji Tianzi let out a painful groan, feeling some pain. After being nailed here for so long, pulling it out would definitely hurt a little. Chapter 12:28. As Tianyun continued to pull out the heavenly grid mansion, a roar came from behind him. "You intruders! How dare you break into my heavenly grid mansion? Holy Lady, why are you here?" The one who came down was Princess Heavenly Grid. When she saw the Holy Lady, she was shocked. Everyone knew that the Holy Lady was in the possession of the Divine Sun. Now that the Holy Lady came down alone, it meant that she either ran away or committed the crime together. However, when she looked around, she didn't see the Divine Sun. She said angrily, "No wonder I saw the Divine Sun wandering around here. It's you, bitch. I don't know how you escaped. If I catch you now and hand you over to the Divine Sun, he will definitely look at me in a different light." Princess Heavenly Grid immediately thought that Ji Shuilian escaped on her own and wasn't released by Tianyun. Normally, people wouldn't think so. The evil spirit race and the divine spirit race were like fire and water. How could they work together? Moreover, they couldn't see anyone here, so it was even more unlikely that they were working together. When Princess Heavenly Grid came down, their faces changed. Princess Heavenly Grid's cultivation was not low. She was at the 6th level of the Lord of Heaven. She was a bit weaker than Ji Shuilian. However, Ji Shuilian wasn't in her best condition, so it was impossible for her to fight with Princess Heavenly Grid. "Oh no, I've been discovered!" Ji Shuilian's face turned pale and she shouted, "You guys leave quickly, I'll stop her." "Still want to escape? If you can escape from me, I'm not the princess of Heavenly Grid Palace." She slapped the wall with her thick palm and the heavy door closed slowly. As long as the door wasn't opened, they wouldn't be able to escape. After the door was closed, she waved her hand and tried to catch Ji Shuilian. Ji Shuilian's face turned serious. She quickly pushed her brother away and rushed up to meet the attack. A faint white light appeared on her slender hand as she released the power in her body. Although it looked like it was quite powerful, it was far inferior to Princess Tiange's attack. The two of them were not on the same level. Bitch, get out of my way! Princess Heavenly Grid slapped Ji Shuilian and sent her flying. She was already injured and her cultivation was suppressed, so she was hit by the slap and hit the wall. She groaned and spat out a mouthful of blood. Sister! Ji Tianzi hurriedly ran over and helped his sister up. Sister, are you all right? I'm fine. Ji Shuilian struggled to get up and stared at Princess Tiange, who was not far away. I can continue to fight and suppress her. Suppress me? Do you think you have the ability now? If I didn't want to hand you over to the Divine Sun, I would have killed you with a single slap. I would have nailed you to this place and sucked your blood essence dry. Princess Heavenly Gu licked her lips. To her, these godly spirits were very nutritious. Although their attributes were mutually exclusive, their blood did not seem to be mutually exclusive. As long as he absorbed it slowly, there would be no problem at all. Furthermore, it was a great tonic. It seems like your evil spirit race's habit has never changed. It is to continuously absorb blood essence to strengthen yourself. At this time, Yi Tianyun walked over from the side and stood in front of them. Humans? A mere Earth Monarch realm human dares to be arrogant in front of me? Princess Heavenly Gu snorted coldly. I don't know how you managed to sneak into my Heavenly Grid Palace, but those who trespass into my Heavenly Grid Palace must die. After saying that, her aura surged and she was about to launch a fierce attack on Yi Tianyun. Let me block her, you can't. Ji Shuilian had already arrived beside Yi Tianyun and wanted to block Princess Heavenly Ji's attack. In her opinion, how could an Earth Monarch fight against Princess Heavenly Gu? How do you know that I can't? Yi Tianyun said with a faint smile. A man will say that he can't, but he will never say that he can't. You are about to die, but you are still kissing me here. Die. Princess Heavenly Gu didn't have time to listen to their nonsense. She rushed forward and waved her palm. She wanted to slap Yi Tianyun to death. Ji Shuilian lifted her leg and tried to block Yi Tianyun. However, Yi Tianyun had already stretched out his hand and stopped her. He lightly pushed her back and said without turning his head, "Take care of your sister." After catching Ji Shuilian, Ji Tianzi looked at Yi Tianyun in a daze. He didn't know where this human came from, but it seemed like he had a good relationship with his sister. You? Ji Shuilian struggled and wanted to help Yi Tianyun. However, Yi Tianyun's figure disappeared. In the next moment, Princess Heavenly Ji's head was pressed to the ground by Yi Tianyun. With a dong sound, even the secret chamber shook. You want to kill me with this bit of strength? Yi Tianyun's violent strength pressed her to the ground. She couldn't move at all. What kind of strength is this? Princess Heavenly Gu was shocked. Her opponent was an Earth Monarch. How come she couldn't fight back? The strength to kill all of you? Yi Tianyun sneered. He lifted his leg and stomped on her arms and legs. At the same time, he sealed her strength. He did it in a smooth and practiced manner. Everyone behind him was dumbfounded. In almost an instant, Princess Heavenly Gu was defeated. Sister, is he really an Earth Monarch? Ji Tianzi's eyes widened. This was beyond his common sense. An Earth Monarch instantly killing a Lord of Heaven. If the difference wasn't small, he could accept it. But now there was a difference of 6 to 7 levels. It feels like... Ji Shuilian was also shocked. She thought that Yi Tianyun would be in danger. But now it seemed like she was overthinking. Yi Tianyun easily crushed his opponent, and it was as easy as blowing off dust. Everything was so simple. Bang! Yi Tianyun threw Princess Heavenly Gu in front of them and said indifferently, "I'll leave her to you. You can take revenge or torture her. It's up to you. But you need to be quick. If that God Monarch returns, it'll be troublesome." The captured divine spirits looked at Princess Heavenly Gu coldly. Their eyes were filled with killing intent. What do you want? As long as you let me go, I'll let you leave safely. Otherwise, I'll ask my father to kill you. No matter where you go, my father will hunt you down. Princess Heavenly Gu didn't want to die. As a princess, she didn't want to die so quickly. Leave safely? Ji Shualian sneered. Do you think we'll believe you? You're a bunch of animals. You won't keep your promise. One by one, they stood up and prepared to kill Princess Tiange on the spot to vent their hatred. Chapter 12:29. Princess Tiange shivered when she felt that she was about to be killed. She thought that she was about to die. How could she not feel scared? The evil spirit race also had people who were extremely afraid of death, especially those with high positions of power. What they feared the most was death. Therefore, if there is a dangerous mission, they will definitely not do it themselves, they will send their subordinates to do it. Don't kill me. As long as you don't kill me, I will give you any treasure you want. As long as you keep me here, you can escape at will. Princess Tiange changed from threatening to begging for mercy. She knew that these people are serious, they really want to kill her, and they are not afraid of the divine emperor behind her. Ji Shualian and the others didn't care about Princess Tiange's begging. She doesn't know how many races have begged them for mercy, but it's useless. The more miserable the begging, the more they like it, and the more satisfying it is to kill them. That being the case, how can they let Princess Tiange go? They want to wipe out the entire evil spirit race. They don't even want to let go of the old, young, women, and children. If they don't let go of the old, young, women, and children, then why should they let the evil spirit race go? Kill. They directly took out their weapons and slashed at Princess Tiange. Each slash is very powerful, and soon Princess Tiange's body was dismembered. It seems that their methods are very cruel, but in fact, they are not even half as cruel as the evil spirit race. Ding! Successfully killed Princess Tiange. Reward: 47 compressed EXP, 6 compressed crazy point, 5 SBS. Obtained evil spirit bone, evil spirit soul, evil spirit blood, Lord of Heaven level, evil spirit race key, rare. They could still gain experience even without his help. This was the reason why he let others deal with it. Hurry up and leave, the Divine Emperor should know about this place. Tianyun didn't say much and signaled them to leave quickly. If the Divine Emperor comes, they won't be able to escape. They nodded in agreement. After killing Princess Tiange, they had temporarily resolved the hatred in their hearts, and felt a bit better. But when they were about to open the door and leave, a terrifying pressure came from above their heads, causing them to bend their knees and kneel on the ground. They were already injured, and under this pressure, they couldn't even stand straight and kneel on the ground. Divine Sovereign's power, their faces paled as they murmured, "It's over, the heavenly grid Manor Lord is back, we can't escape." Tianyun was powerful enough to kill the Lord of Heaven, but what about a divine sovereign? An earth monarch couldn't possibly kill a god monarch, right? Moreover, this Sir God was no ordinary Sir God. Tianyun lifted his head and looked up. It was indeed a strong God Lord who had reached God Lord level 4. With his current situation, it was really difficult to deal with him. Basically, he could only run if he could. "Don't struggle, relax and come in." Tianyun gestured for them to stop struggling. They immediately stopped struggling. They had complete trust in Tianyun. The person who could save them was their savior. It was impossible for him to harm them. Then, Tianyun put them into the living ring. His silhouette flickered and he disappeared on the spot. He easily teleported to the outskirts of the heavenly grid mansion. At the same time, he switched back to his evil spirit puppet and pretended to be a passerby. With a single teleportation, he easily escaped. There was no difficulty at all. With his teleportation, unless it was a heaven-defying restriction, he could easily teleport out. This wasn't the first time. There had been many times when nothing could stop him from teleporting. Perhaps a God Lord didn't have the ability to stop his teleportation. While pretending to be a passerby, he slowly walked to the side. He wasn't in a hurry to leave the heavenly grid mansion. He wanted to see what was going on here. In the sky above the heavenly grid mansion, there was a God Lord Level 4 expert. He released his power and enveloped the entire heavenly grid mansion. It could be said that every corner was sealed off. Basically, even an ant could be detected. If anything happens to my daughter, all of you will die with her. The person flying in the air was naturally the owner of the heavenly grid mansion, God Lord Heavenly Grid. His power quickly spread downwards and soon reached the innermost part. A moment later, his eyes widened. How is this possible? Then, he dashed into the heavenly grid mansion. No one knew what he was going to do. Around the heavenly grid mansion, many evil spirit race walked over to take a look. They wanted to see what had happened to make God Lord Heavenly Grid so angry. Soon, there was a group of evil spirit race watching from the outside. In no time, a terrifying power shot up from the ground into the sky. Boom! There was a loud sound. The evil spirit race watching from the side were blown away. They screamed in pain and rolled to the corner. Some of them were seriously injured by the shockwave and were on the verge of death. Tianyun was also affected by the shockwave. The evil spirit puppet almost couldn't withstand the powerful God Lord aura. Such strong power. This God Lord's power is too strong. Tianyun squinted his eyes. He could imagine how angry God Lord Heavenly Grid was. How could he not be angry when his daughter was killed? Especially when he couldn't catch the culprit. That was the most infuriating thing. Who killed him? Who killed him? God Lord Heavenly Grid rushed up from the ground. He released all his arms and waved them in the air. Even his hair was flying in the air. His eyes were filled with anger as he looked around. Just this aura alone had already scared the many evil spirit races to the point of retreating a distance away. They had originally surrounded him rather closely. They were originally quite close to him, but in the blink of an eye, they moved back and created a big circle. They were afraid that they would be touched by God Lord Heavenly Grid's anger. Then, he made a grabbing motion in the air and immediately grabbed the evil spirit race that was closer to him. He coldly asked, "Speak. Did you see any strange people enter my mansion?" My lord, I didn't see," Scram. God Lord Heavenly Grid threw the evil spirit race and smashed him into meat paste. He didn't hesitate to kill him. Although this was the royalty's territory, his position was higher. It was not a problem for him to kill some royalty. This scared the surrounding evil spirit race people, and they all retreated even further, afraid that they would be affected. "Speak. Did any of you see anyone enter my mansion? If anyone has any information, I will reward him with a heavenly law treasure." God Lord Heavenly Grid immediately offered a reward to find out who had entered. However, no one answered. It was not that they didn't want it, but they didn't notice anyone suspicious entering. Chapter 12:30. The evil spirit tribe was envious of Lord Tianji's reward, but that was all. After all, they couldn't provide any accurate information. Only accurate information could get them the reward. It would be impossible for him to get his hands on Sir God Tiangu just by saying a few words. He might even anger Sir God Tiangu. By then, he would be dead. This reward is valid. If you have any news, come and report to my followers. Lord Tiangu waved his hand, and a few followers appeared in the Heavenly Grid Mansion. All the guards in the Heavenly Grid Mansion had been killed by him. Their daughter's death was their fault. Most importantly, they didn't know anything. That was a capital crime. Hence, the guards in the Heavenly Grid Mansion were all wiped out by him, and he could only replace them with new guards. After Sir God Tiangu gave his instructions, he flew in all directions quickly. The pressure of a Sir God spread out continuously. He wanted to see if there were any clansmen behaving strangely or if there were any suspicious outsiders. "I can't see anything. Our Heavenly Grid Mansion didn't offend other forces. The intruder must be skilled in assassination." The 3 guards of the Lord of Heaven are dead, and he did it so quietly. Could it be a divine lord? If it's a divine lord, it must be the elders. They wouldn't do such a thing. It seems like it's really an outsider. How could an outsider sneak in here? No, could there be a traitor? Lord Tiangu kept guessing who the real culprit was. Everything happened so mysteriously that he couldn't find any information. Therefore, he could only look around to see if there were any suspicious people. I came back fast enough. Even if I escaped, I shouldn't have been able to escape so quickly. Especially when I was looking down, I could still feel their aura. Why did they disappear so quickly? Could it be that they tore space? But how could they do that in a secret room? He kept talking to himself as if he was crazy. At the same time, he kept looking around for suspicious people. It was not as simple as his daughter's death. He was angry. His heavenly grid mansion was so big. His daughter was killed, and so many guards were killed. How could he accept that? He also wanted to know who dared to do this to him. All of this was the source of his anger, causing him to focus all his attention on searching. While he was frantically searching outside, Tianyun was wandering around on the side. This was the benefit of the evil spirit puppet, it could easily hide. Even if Sir God Tiange suspected his own people, there were so many of them here. Was he going to kill them all? These were all members of the royal family. It was fine to kill a few of them, but if he were to kill as he pleased, he would definitely incur the wrath of the other elders. These were all their descendants. How could they allow them to kill them at will? If they were outside Fan Yu's faction, it wouldn't be a problem for them to kill as they pleased. However, even Sir God Tiangu wouldn't dare to act recklessly here. Tianyun looked around at the evil spirit race, his gaze becoming colder and colder. Sooner or later, all of you will have to pay your debts. Immediately after, he flew away. There was no God Spirit clan here, so he didn't need to stay. After leaving, he returned to his residence. If he continued to stay outside, he would definitely be criticized. Therefore, he came back first and released all of them. Evil spirit race? When Ji Tianzi saw the evil spirit puppet at the side, he was immediately shocked. His killing intent surged as he prepared to attack. It wasn't just him. The other god spirit race were the same, and they immediately prepared to fight. As long as it was the evil spirit race, they would definitely treat it with hostility. Don't be so nervous. This is actually a puppet, it's not real. Ji Shuelian indicated for them to relax. However, at the beginning, she was the same and would feel very nervous. It's not real. Ji Tianzi sized up the evil spirit puppet at the side suspiciously, then looked at Tianyun at the side and said doubtfully, "So realistic? Whether it's the aura or the appearance, there's no difference. If I couldn't do this, I think I would have been captured before I could save you." Tianyun shrugged. Ji Tianzi's eyes lit up. He hurriedly came over and said, "Big brother Tianyun, did you make this yourself?" They had already chatted a lot on the way here, and they all knew Tianyun's name. "I guess so." Tianyun thought for a moment. He had indeed made this himself, but it wasn't the kind of thing that required a lot of meticulous crafting. When those puppet masters made puppets, there were too many steps that they needed to go through, and the project was extremely huge. As for the evil spirit puppet he made, it was very simple to fuse the materials together to form the evil spirit puppet. It was very simple. That powerful? Ji Tianzi said in pleasant surprise. "Big brother Tianyun, can you teach me? I want to learn it, no matter what the conditions are." Just like Ji Shuelian, he immediately thought of what to do with it. They all wanted to become puppets and take revenge on the evil spirit race and save their own clansmen. "Little brother, there's no need to ask him anymore. It's true that he made this thing, but in the end, he doesn't know how to do it either." Ji Shuelian shook her head. "That's true. If I could still make it, I would definitely tell you." Tianyun scratched his head awkwardly. It was a pity that this thing could not be considered as having been made, but rather pieced together. All right. Ji Tianzi's eyes were filled with disappointment, but thank you, Big Brother Tianyun. If it wasn't for Big Brother Tianyun, we would have definitely died in the Heavenly Grid Palace, and we wouldn't have been able to see Big Sister. Ji Shuilian was also filled with gratitude. Their lives had all been saved by Yi Tianyun. There's no need to thank me now. Think about how to save your other clansmen first. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, let's save your clansmen first. I wonder how many of your clansmen are trapped here? Yes. Ji Tianzi said excitedly. A group of us didn't have time to escape and were all captured. Other than the few of us who were captured separately, the elders and the other clansmen were all imprisoned in the same place. They seemed to be preparing to make offerings or something, but I don't know the details. Offerings? Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes. There was also the word offerings. Could it be that they were offering to the fourth grade god domain? Or were they offering to the domain lord? Yes, I heard about offerings, but I don't know who they were offering to. I don't think the elders and the others will be sent out so quickly. They must still be in their cells. Ji Tianzi shook his head and said, however, I don't know where they are being held. We don't even know where they are. Chapter 12:31. Yi Tianyun said, I know. Ji Tianzi's eyes widened, and then he looked at the evil spirit puppet, and immediately thought that it would be the evil spirit puppet, and then he knew about it. I don't even know how he found out. If he didn't find you, you would have been tortured for a while. Ji Shuilian shook her head. Until now, she still didn't know how Yi Tianyun did it. He easily found her brother's location. He clearly didn't say it clearly before, but he said he knew in such a short time. It was really strange for him to say that he knew in such a short while. Really? Ji Tianzi was pleasantly surprised. Then I'll leave it to Big Brother Tianyun. The lives of our clansmen are in your hands. If we can save the elders, we will definitely repay Big Brother Tianyun. Yi Tianyun nodded and smiled. It's not difficult to find them, but do you have any keepsakes? For example, your elders or something close to the elder. Whether it's blood or something else, as long as it's related to their bodies, even a strand of hair is fine. Ji Tianzi thought for a moment, then shook his head. I do have it, but it was taken away. Taken away? Yi Tianyun thought for a moment, then took out a storage ring and handed it over. This is Princess Tianji's storage ring. Take a look and see if there's anything of yours. You've already taken it. So fast, they were focused on revenge, so they didn't think about plundering treasures. Now that they remembered that their things were with them, they were furious. It's just a habit. Yi Tianyun smiled awkwardly. He was used to doing this. After killing the other party, he would definitely plunder their things. These were all resources. He was used to being poor, so he had to search for resources frequently. He didn't need them, but the three realms needed them, so he definitely wouldn't let go of any resources. Ji Tianzi did not say anything more. He immediately rummaged through his storage ring and quickly took out a token. This is the protective talisman that the elder gave me. If necessary, I will use it to protect myself. However, before I could even take it out, I was already controlled. This should be fine, right? That's not a problem. Very good. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. This thing was definitely not a problem. After he took it, he immediately put it into the evil spirit wheel. After the evil spirit wheel spun, there was immediately a pulling force that pointed towards him. Found it. Yi Tianyun smiled. So fast? They were shocked. They had just handed over the token, and they already knew where the person was? More or less. Of course, we still have to fly there. How about this, you guys can just follow me in. Yi Tianyun stretched out his hand and beckoned them into the evil spirit puppet's body, and they left together. They could also see the situation outside from the inside, and they were very envious of this. If the divine spirit race could have evil spirit puppets, they would be able to ruthlessly punish the evil spirit race. They would also be able to do it without anyone knowing, and they would even be able to save their own clansmen. However, they could only think about it. Since Tianyun said that there was no other way, they could only give up. In fact, if there really was such a thing, there were still some things that were difficult to do. The higher the level of the puppet, the more difficult it was to make. At the very least, puppet masters had never made puppets with higher cultivation than them. They could only make puppets with lower cultivation than them, and the higher the cultivation, the more difficult it was. They needed to spend a lot of effort to be able to make them, so even if Tianyun had an absolute art in this area, there was not much meaning in them taking it. After all, the difficulty was too high, and they could not make it, or the conditions were too harsh. If it was that easy, there would be puppeteers all over the place instead of not seeing a single one. Puppet masters were too rare, but puppet masters who had truly trained to a certain level were all quite shocking. They would definitely be heavily nurtured by a faction or treated as a distinguished guest, and it would not be a problem for them to become an elder. A powerful puppet master could control a few or a dozen puppets at once. The most important thing was that they could become one with their mind, and the battle power they brought was unparalleled. After all, when working with others, there would be mistakes no matter what. However, their own puppets were different. They could completely become one with their mind, and they would not be disturbed at all. This way, their battle power would skyrocket, and they would have no problem killing enemies above their level. However, the puppet masters that they were envious of, Tianyun was not a puppet master. To him, a puppet master was too low level. He could have as many of these puppets as he wanted. However, their levels were too low, and they were of no use at all. Tianyun followed the traction force and flew forward quickly. The guards here did not stop him. It was his privilege to enter and exit this place at will, and no one would suspect him. Soon, he followed the traction force and arrived at the location where their elder was, Dark Heart City. So, it's Dark Heart City. Tianyun squinted his eyes. According to the map, Dark Heart City, as the name suggested, had an extremely large core. Compared to other cities, the core here was indeed one of the best. Most importantly, this core was still beating. It sounded like a heart and it was making thumping sounds. That was why this place was called Dark Heart City. However, Dark Heart City was a special city. It was not a prison, and there was no sign of a prison. This did not mean that there were no prisons in this god territory. On the contrary, according to the map, there were a few prisons that were used to hold slaves or people who were captured from the outside world. Of course, there were also evil spirits. On the other hand, Dark Heart City did not belong to the prison area, and he could not help but guess that it was a tribute. They had already treated the divine spirits as tributes, so they would naturally not be locked in the prison. When he asked the guards, none of them knew anything about it. It seemed like not many people knew about it. When he was about to enter, the token in his pocket suddenly rang. It was obviously a summoning order. It's Elder Tesso's summoning order. Tianyun frowned. Why was he summoned by Elder Tesso at this crucial time? He took out the token and was stunned when he sensed it. The place where he was summoned was none other than Dark Heart City. The message from the token was to summon him to Dark Heart City, and it happened to be right in front of him. What a coincidence that he summoned me to Dark Heart City. Could it be? He squinted his eyes and could roughly guess why he was summoned. It was most likely related to the divine spirits. Chapter 1232. After receiving the message, Tianyun quickly flew to the Dark Heart City. He didn't have to worry about anyone thinking that he was going to the Dark Heart City. After entering Dark Heart City, there was nothing special about the environment in Moon Luan City. In fact, it was much more relaxed and the security wasn't as strict. It wasn't that it wasn't important, it was very important. As soon as Tianyun came down, he immediately felt a powerful force locked on him. There was no doubt that it was Elder Tai Sua's spiritual sense, and he immediately saw him coming. With such a powerful Sir God here, there was no need for the security to be strict. It was meaningless. Plus, there wasn't just one powerful Sir God here, there were three. He could feel that there were three terrifying forces in different areas of Dark Heart City. In that case, the guards were just decorations and they were the ones who were in control. Three Sir Gods, it's a little tricky. Tianyun creased his eyebrows. He thought that he could save them easily, but it seemed that it was going to be difficult. According to what he did previously, although there was a chance of success, he had to be quick. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if he was discovered. In particular, he didn't want the evil spirit puppet to be exposed. He could make another one, but he would need more materials to make one with such a high cultivation. If he could, he definitely wouldn't want to abandon the evil spirit puppet. "Come here." A voice sounded in his ear. Without a doubt, it was Elder Taiso's voice that was guiding him over. Tianyun could only listen to him and fly over. However, the direction he was heading was the same as the direction of the traction force. It didn't matter as they were heading to the same place. However, it proved his assumption that Elder Teso would bring him to the Divine Spirit clan. Very soon, he arrived at the area where Elder Teso was. It was the inner area of Dark Heart City. When Elder Teso saw him flying over, he was surprised. "You're here so quickly. Are you nearby?" Tianyun replied respectfully, reporting to Elder Teso, "I was indeed just passing by and heard your summons, so I came over." From these words, he could tell that Elder Teso did not call him in because he saw him outside, but because he really wanted him to come in. "So that's how it is." "That's just right." Elder Teso smiled and asked, "How is it? Is there no problem with the goddess? I wonder when they'll be able to give birth to their next generation?" These elders were really beasts. They had just met and they were already asking about these things. Ji Shuilian, who was in the evil spirit puppet's body, blushed. The others did not know what had happened and thought that the goddess was the evil spirit race's goddess, so they did not suspect Ji Shuilian. It had to be said that these things were extremely confidential, mainly because the evil spirit race would not betray them, so these things did not spread out. For example, the powerful Moon Soul Pavilion only knew the distribution of a portion of the factions. They did not know everything, so it was difficult for them to infiltrate. After all, the evil spirit race only allowed their own race to control power, unlike the other divine realms, which had all kinds of races, so it was different. Soon, Tianyun smiled and said, "I think it won't be long before they can give birth to outstanding descendants." "Very good." Elder Teso's eyes lit up and he smiled and said, "Then I'll take you to a place that can help you level up. Although your current performance is not bad, if you can continue to level up, you will undoubtedly become stronger." "Elder Teso, where are you taking me?" Tianyun asked even though he knew the answer. He knew where Elder Teso would take him. He was definitely going to see the divine spirit race. "You will know in a while." Elder Taiso smiled and led him into the inner part of Dark Heart City. After passing through a long corridor, just as they were about to walk out of the city, Tianyun immediately smelled a thick smell of blood. His heart sank. It was undoubtedly the smell of the divine spirit race's blood. Sure enough, after walking out, his eyes suddenly opened up. What he saw were two large blood pools, one on the left and one on the right, and there was a corridor in front of them. As for the blood pools here, there were divine spirits nailed to the sides, and their blood kept flowing slowly. Most importantly, they were constantly being treated, and they would be forcibly fed elixirs to replenish their bodies, so they would not die immediately. There were dozens of divine spirits here, and they were all nailed to the walls. Faint golden blood filled the two blood pools just like that. In the two blood pools, there were many old evil spirit race-s lying inside, drinking the blood. Tianyun's pupils shrank. These old evil spirits were obviously the type that had reached the end of their lifespans. After absorbing the divine spirit race's blood, they slightly recovered their luster and replenished their lifespan. There were quite a few evil spirit races lying here, but there weren't many either, only a dozen or so. Their cultivation was not high, only at the 7th or 8th layer of the Lord of Heaven's cultivation. This made him very curious. The divine spirit race's blood was so precious, why would they let these trash that had reached the end of their lifespans absorb it? Bastard! These damned evil spirit race, they actually did this to our clansmen. All of them were furious and wanted nothing more than to rush out of here, but they were immediately stopped by Ji Shuilian. Calm down, don't affect our benefactor. If we casually emit our aura and are sensed by the people outside, we will be finished. Ji Shuilian was also very angry, but she knew that she had to remain calm. If they wanted to save someone, they had to grasp the situation here. If they rushed out now, forget about saving someone, they would not even be able to protect themselves. Especially when there was a divine Lord Ranker beside them, could they save him? After Ji Shuilian's advice, they all calmed down, but their eyes were still filled with anger. Yi Tianyun glanced at them and nodded at Ji Shuilian. Sometimes he had to be calm. If he was not calm, there would only be death. These are the development elders of our evil spirit race, greet them. Elder Tesso indicated for Yi Tianyun to greet them. Greetings, elders. Yi Tianyun bowed deeply. Although he did not want to bow, if he did not, he would be kicked out. After he bowed, the development elders could not be bothered with him, and continued to lie on the side. They had no intention of replying at all, as if they were deaf. Elder Tesso nodded, and did not say anything else as he continued to lead him forward. Yi Tianyun, who was following behind, was extremely shocked in his heart. Those old evil spirit races were actually development elders. When he was staying here, he found the books of the evil spirit race and read them. He roughly understood a lot of things. Among them, the development elders were old antiques from many years ago, tens of thousands of years ago, or even hundreds of thousands of years ago. Originally, his cultivation was not low. As his lifespan came to an end, his cultivation became weaker and weaker, and in the end, he completely died. Chapter 1233. A group of old farts from the evil spirit race was relying on the blood of the divine spirit race to extend their lives, causing the divine spirit race to grit their teeth. No wonder they had captured so many divine spirit race beings. If they could extend the lives of these old farts, how could they not capture them? Originally, these old farts were all divine lords, but due to the problem of their lifespans, they had all dropped to the Lord of Heaven. Thus, if there was no need, they would not be bothered to move. After all, if they moved, they would die. That was basically what all cultivators did. He would either seal himself or use a similar method to prolong his life. The methods were similar, but the result would not change. Unless their cultivation had a breakthrough, the final outcome would still be death. As their lifespans were about to end, they were not interested in anything. Unless the evil spirit race was about to be destroyed, they would not care. For example, when Yi Tianyun greeted them just now, they did not pay any attention. Even if it was Elder Tesso who greeted them, it would be the same. They were like puppets, soaking in the blood pool, not moving at all. Otherwise, they would move slightly and absorb the blood here. However, Yi Tianyun's eyes were filled with killing intent. These seemingly weak fellows were actually a group of cruel people. Their hands were stained with the blood of countless innocent people. Now that they had lost their ability to fight, they were here to extend their lives. If they did not have these achievements, the evil spirit race would not have given them such treatment. As they followed Elder Tesso, Tesso slowly explained, "As long as you create enough achievements, you will be able to continue living like those pioneering elders. Of course, you are still very young, so there is still a lot of time for you to make contributions." After passing through this corridor, what came into view were many sturdy cages. Each of these cages contained a godly spirit race individual. As far as the eye could see, There were dozens of divine spirit race beings imprisoned here, including the divine spirit race's elders. This elder recognized him with a single glance. He just sat there calmly, his face filled with a peaceful expression. When they came in, he slowly opened his eyes, and a look filled with wisdom appeared in his eyes. She did not become extremely angry when Elder Tesso entered. Instead, when the other divine spirit race beings saw him, they revealed angry gazes, and some even wanted to curse. However, they did not do so, as if they had been told by the elder. Yes, it's Elder Gu. They are all fine, that's great. Ji Shuilian sat on the ground, and when she saw that they were fine, she heaved a sigh of relief. At least, most of the clansmen were still here and had not been captured. They were worried that they would be transferred and then it would be troublesome. After all, it would take a lot of effort and time to search everywhere. This was the same as Ji Tianzi, being moved to another mansion, and that would be troublesome. Ji Tianzi and the others heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, nothing had happened, otherwise they would have been sad. Is my place comfortable? Elder Tesso walked in, his eyes narrowed as he smiled. They spirit race beings, one of them of God race beings, and spirit race on the spirit race beings, and they did not say anything. What's the matter this time? If there's nothing else, get out of here. Ji scolded him in a calm tone. What do you want this time? If not, then scram. Ji scolded them in a calm tone. The cages here were all made of specially made dark stones. In addition, their powers were sealed, so it was impossible for them to escape. Oh? You've been imprisoned for so long, yet you're still so arrogant? Elder Tesso smiled and said, but this is good. You're a little more energetic and fresh enough. Oh, you can be arrogant after being locked up for so long? Elder Tesso smiled and said, but this is good. It's fresh and lively. Then, he turned to Tianyun and said, which one do you like? Other than this elder, you can choose any of them. For us, it's much better to absorb it than to take those pills. He clicked his tongue as if he was tasting delicious food. These are all great tonics. I saw that you have good potential, so I gave you one. If you make contributions in the future, I will give you another one. It took a lot of effort to capture these divine spirit race beings. Over the years, they have become more and more difficult to capture. All of them are hiding very well. But I still caught a lot of them. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to offer them. Tianyun narrowed his eyes when he heard the word offer again. Elder Tesso, who are these divine spirit race beings offering them to? Tianyun asked. Our region lord, of course. The region lord ordered us to capture the divine spirit race beings. As for the other races, we are already sick of them. The divine spirit race is rare, so it is even harder to capture them, Elder Tesso said. Offering them to the region lord, Tianyun realized that they were offering them to the region lord. As for the other evil spirit race beings, they could not enjoy them at all. This was like a precious elixir. It would definitely be used by elders or area lords. As for the other races, they could not even look at them. However, the other races were already sick of them. Elder Tesso smiled and said, Go ahead. Other than that elder, you can choose anyone else, said Elder Tesso with a smile. Tianyun glanced at them. All of the divine spirit race beings looked gloomy. They were going to be chosen as food. However, he did not look at them for long. He casually pointed and said, Choose her. Tianyun casually pointed at the god spirit race, which was the closest to him. He didn't care much about the god spirit race. He didn't care about the god spirit race. He didn't care about the god spirit race at all. Choose me. Choose me. At this time, a young man stood up and shouted, Choose me if you can, you bastard. Be quiet. Elder Tesso waved his hand, and a formless energy slammed out, sending the young man flying. He smashed heavily against the sturdy prison cell and fainted. The other divine spirit race beings' faces darkened. They knew that they could not make the decision. As slaves, they could only choose to accept it. Choose a female divine spirit race. Not bad, not bad. Elder Tesso looked at him meaningfully. Itianyun felt helpless. He could choose one at random. He did not care if it was a male or female. However, he was too lazy to explain. Elder Tai Sua waved his hand, and the cage automatically opened. The divine spirit race expert floated over. His body was restrained, and he couldn't break free, just like Ji Shualian in the beginning. This is your reward. I hope you can perform well. When the time comes, I'll reward you with another one. Elder Tisso smiled as he sent the godly spirit over. It was as if he was tossing over a piece of merchandise. Chapter 1234. Thank you, Elder Tesso. Itianyun accepted the divine spirit race without any hesitation and directly threw it into the living ring. Elder Tesso was not surprised. If he did not put it into the living ring, could it be that he had to carry it on his back? I think highly of you. You have already proven that your ability is not simple by killing your way out of the encirclement of so many experts. Elder Tesso smiled and said, Now you should properly improve yourself. I will arrange a mission for you after a period of time. You must complete it perfectly. If you can complete it perfectly, you will be able to meet the Domain Lord. Mission? Itianyun was puzzled. Yes, but this mission is not easy to complete. What you need to do now is to properly improve yourself. Elder Tesso patted his shoulder and did not explain in detail what the mission was. He only hoped that it was not a mission to encircle and annihilate Yu Ming, because Yu Ming and the rest were constantly nibbling away at the evil spirit race's forces in Fanyu, so it was very likely that he would be sent to annihilate Yu Ming and the rest. If he was really sent out like this, he would either have to abandon the evil spirit puppet's body, which would result in the complete annihilation of Fan Yu's evil spirit race's forces. On the other hand, the evil spirit race's forces in Fan Yu could not be eliminated for the time being. However, the advantage was that he could meet the Domain Lord and climb higher. However, he still did not plan to do this kind of mission. He was still inclined to completely eradicate the evil spirit race's forces in Fan Yu. Perhaps his progress would be a little slower, but he wanted to completely eradicate the evil spirit race's forces. He had a deep hatred for these forces, so he naturally did not intend to let them go. If he could deal with them as soon as possible, he would. Disciple understands. Itianyun could only answer like this. He raised his head and looked at the situation. There were no guards, but these cages were quite sturdy. If he wanted to destroy them, he would need to spend a lot of effort. He could either destroy them violently or directly remove the shackles. No matter which one it would take some effort. If the elders here were to be alerted, it would be troublesome. His gaze continued to size up the cage, using the appraisal eye to quickly analyze the flaws in it. He wanted to see where he could break out of the cage and save them in the shortest amount of time possible. What's wrong? Are you still a little reluctant? Do you want to pick another one? Elder Tesso saw Itianyun staring at them. He couldn't help but laugh. I did the same thing in the past, absorbing their essence blood. It felt wonderful. Looks like you should have sensed the surging energy from the goddess. I have to say, the divine spirit race is very suitable food for us. However, I can only give you one. One is enough. When I finish the next mission, I'll give you another one. Elder Tesso thought that Itianyun was reluctant and wanted one more, but little did he know that Itianyun just wanted to see how he could break out of this cage. I didn't expect the elder to see through me. I really want to take one more, but I know that I can't. I just want to take a few more glances. I don't know if that's okay? Itianyun said with an embarrassed smile. Of course, it's okay to take a look. Just take a look. Maybe that will give you some motivation. Elder Tesso smiled and said, Then you can take a look here. I still have things to do. He was very generous. After saying that, he turned around and left. He felt that Yi Tianyun definitely wouldn't break out of his shackles, especially when it was his own clansman. No matter what, he wouldn't have the guts to break out of his shackles. Moreover, Elder Tesso felt that his shackles couldn't be broken, which was why he was so relaxed. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. He hadn't expected Elder Tesso to be so generous. This would undoubtedly increase his chances of success. After Elder Tesso left, Yi Tianyun looked at them one by one. As soon as he got close to the cages, they started cursing. "What are you looking at? Kill us if you can. That's right. You disgusting race, kill us if you can. If we manage to escape, you'll all be dead." They kept trying to provoke Yi Tianyun so that Yi Tianyun would kill them. Now that they were imprisoned, they couldn't even commit suicide. However, it wouldn't be a problem if they relied on external forces. Death was better than being tortured all the time. That was the most painful thing to do. For example, a group of divine spirits were nailed to the blood pool outside. It was a fate worse than death. Yi Tianyun didn't answer. He just looked around and memorized the situation of each cage. After looking, Yi Tianyun nodded and didn't say anything to them. He turned around and left. But the sound of cursing still came from behind. Yi Tianyun actually wanted to reveal some information to them, but he didn't dare to do so. If he was seen through, it would be troublesome. Although Elder Tesso wasn't here, he could still feel that Elder Tesso was watching his every move. So he didn't dare to speak, he didn't even dare to use sound transmission. After leaving here, he directly flew out of Dark Heart City. Until he flew out of Dark Heart City, the spiritual sense that was watching him gradually disappeared. Ding, successfully accepted the side quest Save the Divine Spirit Race. Reward: 30 compressed crazy point, 20 compressed proficiency, 100 divine spirit races favorability. Note: this quest will affect the future main quest, so it's up to you to complete it. There is another side quest. I can complete it on the way. Immediately, Yi Tianyun found a place to hide and released the Divine Spirit Clan. Disgusting. Trash. Pervert. Freak. The Divine Spirit Clan cursed as soon as it saw Yi Tianyun. She couldn't stop cursing at all. As soon as she was released, she cursed, not begged for mercy. In fact, just like the other Divine Spirit race, she wanted to provoke the evil spirit race so that she could be freed faster. Yi Tianyun didn't say anything, he waved his hand, and she was taken into the evil spirit race's body space. Disgusting trash. She just came in, wondering if her eyes were playing tricks on her. She actually saw Ji Shualian and the others. They were all safe and sound, and it seemed like nothing had happened to them. Xiaozhen. One by one, they came over to help her release the shackles on her body. After listening to the explanation, Xiaozhen looked at Yi Tianyun in shock, and immediately said with embarrassment, "I'm sorry, I thought it was the evil spirit race. Don't worry about it, now start planning how to save Elder Jiyu and the others." Yi Tianyun didn't say much, he immediately started planning. He didn't want to waste time, he wanted to save them as soon as possible. But it still depends on the timing. If he is being watched, it will be difficult to solve. Chapter 12:35. While Yi Tianyun was thinking about how to save Elder Jiyu, they looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. "Are you crazy? That's not the Heavenly Grid Palace, and there's a Divine Lord there. If you rashly go down, you'll definitely be caught." Ji Shualian anxiously said, "I am very grateful to you for saving us, but it's not worth it for you to take the risk for us." They really wanted to save their elder, but they couldn't let their benefactor take the risk, especially when he was facing the Divine Lord, not the Lord of Heaven. "I know what I'm doing. You guys can stay here this time." Yi Tianyun did not explain too much. This time, he did not bring them along with him. It was undoubtedly safer for them to stay here. But Ji Shualian's expression was extremely anxious. They did not want to watch their benefactor die. Yi Tianyun did not say anything else. With a light wave of his hand, they came out of the evil spirit puppet space. He also came out of the puppet. You guys wait here for my news. It should be safer here. Even those evil spirit race would not be able to imagine that you would be hiding here. After Tianyun finished speaking, he returned to the evil spirit puppet's body and disappeared from their line of sight. They couldn't stop him even if they wanted to. He quickly disappeared from their line of sight. Bastard, he actually left just like that. Ji Shualian was so angry that she stomped her feet. She wanted to chase after him, but she didn't dare to, in case she was discovered by the evil spirit race. As a result, the evil spirit race was very sensitive to their divine spirit race. If a little bit of light attribute energy was released, they would immediately sense it. Therefore, she did not dare to chase after him. It would not be good if she ruined Tianyun's plan. Elder sister, will big brother Tianyun be fine? Ji Tianzi's eyes were filled with worry. Although they did not understand Tianyun well, they were filled with gratitude towards Tianyun. They had never helped Tianyun before, but Tianyun had helped them without hesitation. This made them extremely grateful. Even if he had spied on their martial arts, at least he had saved them. After they left, they would also repay Tianyun. He will definitely be fine. Ji Shualian bit her lips. She could only hope that Tianyun would return safely. Even if they could not save their clansmen, they were still grateful. After all, Tianyun did not owe them anything. The other divine spirit race were also very worried. If Tianyun was captured, it would be troublesome. It should be said that if they were caught, they would definitely be killed immediately. To the evil spirit race, the human race was really worthless. The reason they were able to survive was largely because of the divine spirit race. The evil spirit race was not willing to kill them immediately, so they raised them and slowly absorbed their blood essence until they completely died. After all, if they lost a lot of blood, Tianyun, they would be killed again, they would be injured and all. After, they would not they would. After Tianyun left, he entered the evil spirit puppet's body again and flew towards Dark Heart City. As soon as he entered Dark Heart City, he was immediately locked on. However, he could clearly feel that it was not Elder Tesso's spiritual sense, but another Divine Lord's spiritual sense. This meant that if he came in from here, he would be immediately locked on. No matter where he went, he would be followed. Tianyun tried to fly down and walk on the streets of Dark Heart City. Since Dark Heart City was called a city, there must be bustling streets. There were many evil spirit race people trading here. However, trading slaves was prohibited here, mainly because it was too chaotic. Hence, they did not trade slaves, nor did they release them. Those who violated the rules would be chased out. The rest were all here, trading the treasures they had found or stolen. It was quite lively. Tianyun went over and pretended to buy something, bargaining with the evil spirit race in front of him. However, it was meaningless. He was still shrouded by the spiritual sense. Then, he roughly understood what it meant. The divine lords who were guarding here were like guards. As long as the evil spirit race came in, they would be covered. They would not target a specific person, but all the evil spirit race. Aren't they being too cautious? Are they guarding against their own people? Tianyun felt helpless. If that was the case, it would not work for him to come in like this. After completing the transaction, he quickly left Dark Heart City. As soon as he got out of the city, the detection disappeared without a trace. Sure enough, it only covered Dark Heart City, not even the people who left. I can only take a gamble. Tianyun's eyes were filled with determination. He came out of the evil spirit puppet and took out the divine teleportation stone. He used the divine teleportation stone and appeared next to the prison cell in the next second. Before he left, he had set the coordinates with the divine teleportation stone. This meant that he could teleport in any time. He was betting that he would appear suddenly and the divine lords would not know. After he came in, He immediately used the invisibility skill to hide himself and his aura. Although a divine lord could see through him, the premise was that the spiritual sense would search carefully. Otherwise, it would not be able to find him. I must not be discovered. Tianyun prayed in his heart, hoping that he would not be discovered. After waiting for a while, he realized that no spiritual sense was searching for him. This meant that he had made the right bet. Then, he immediately rushed to Elder Jiue and started to break the shackles on the prison cell. Elder Jiue was undoubtedly the most important, so he had to save the most important one first. The rest could only be done slowly. If he could not save her, he would at least save the most important one. Dang dang dang. At this time, Tianyun continuously tapped on the prison cell, trying to break the shackles. Every time he tapped, the shackles became slightly weaker. Under his rapid tapping, the shackles became dim in the blink of an eye. Then, he punched them. Bang! The prison cell made of dark stone was easily broken. As long as the energy on it collapsed, it would be very easy to break it. After the shackles were broken, the Divine Spirit clan was stunned. Before they could react, Elder Jiue disappeared. Then, another prison cell was quickly broken, and the Divine Spirit clan members inside were easily taken away. One by one, they disappeared into thin air, leaving them dumbfounded. They had never seen such a strange thing before. In fact, they could see part of it, but now that their energy was shackled, they could not see clearly even if they wanted to. Naturally, they did not know what had happened. At the same time, Elder Tesso, who was in the underground of Dark Heart City, suddenly opened his eyes. His killing intent soared into the sky. What's going on? Who broke my prison cell? Chapter 1236. Elder Tesso immediately felt that the seals he had set up had been destroyed. The moment Elder Jiue's cage was destroyed, he had already sensed it. No matter how the seals were broken, he would immediately sense it. There seemed to be no difference, but it would undoubtedly be easier to destroy the seals. If he really used violence to break them, the difficulty would skyrocket, unless his cultivation level increased greatly and reached the late stage of the Lord of Heaven or a Divine Lord. Otherwise, if he destroyed one, Elder Tesso would immediately rush over. The seals set up by a Divine Lord were not so easy to destroy, so he had not planned to break them by force from the beginning. That would not be worth it. At most, he would save one, and Elder Tesso would definitely catch up. Now, as long as Tianyun is fast enough, he can save most of the people from the dragon's nest. He did not dare to say that he could save everyone, but at least he could save most of them. Crazy braking mode. Ding. Increased braking speed by 64 times. Break. Tianyun punched the cell and broke it again. In the blink of an eye, he saved all the divine spirits and kept them in his living ring. This place was originally full of divine spirits, but now it was empty. The whole process did not take a long time. The speed at which he broke the seals was too fast, making these cells look like paper. He continuously attacked the weak points, and his strength was not weak to begin with, so it was not difficult to break them. Instead, it was very fast. Especially with the crazy braking mode, his speed increased by 64 times. How could it not be terrifying? Many abilities could be stacked in the crazy mode, including alchemy and artifact forging. It was not a problem for him to break the seals. These seals were similar to divine seals. It was difficult for the evil spirit race to cultivate divine seals, but it did not mean that they could not do anything. Elder Tesso was proficient in this area. His grade might not be high, but with materials like the dark stone, it was not a problem for him to suppress the divine spirit race. Therefore, Tianyun's speed was extremely shocking when it came to breaking divine seals. If he comes up, Tianyun's heart shuddered. He quickly ran out of the passageway and arrived above the two blood pools in the blink of an eye. A heavenly divine spear appeared in his hand, and he aimed it at the development elder, who was lying in the blood pool. Humans? They, who were originally indifferent to everything, suddenly jumped up. Their eyes were filled with sharp killing intent, and their shriveled bodies immediately swelled up, becoming full of elasticity. From his old appearance, he suddenly became young and strong. It was very incredible. When they sensed danger, they could only erupt. Otherwise, they would definitely be the ones to die. Crazy damage mode. Divine Dragon Bloodline erupt. Phoenix Bloodline explode. Almost all of his abilities burst forth. There were so many development elders here, so he had to deal with them as quickly as possible. Otherwise, when Elder Tesso arrived, he wouldn't have time to deal with them. Moreover, the most important thing was to save the godly spirit race, so he had to get rid of the development elders. Otherwise, they wouldn't let him save them. After the eruption, Yi Tianyun's fighting strength increased crazily. When he suddenly thrust out his spear, 3 or 4 development elders were easily pierced through. Then he swept his spear forward again, and another development elder who was rushing at him was cut in half at the waist. This move scared the development elders, and they hurriedly retreated, wanting to escape. "Assassin! Assassin!" they shouted. They knew that they were no match for him, so they could only choose to escape. "Want to leave? Leave your lives here, you bastards!" Yi Tianyun waved the spear in his hand crazily, and directly nailed them to the ground. All the development elders were killed by him in one fell swoop, and no one was left alive. These development elders' hands were full of blood, so how could he let them go? Moreover, with so many experience points, it was even more impossible for him to let them go. After getting rid of the development elders, Yi Tianyun's eyes turned to the godly spirit race. He flew towards them, and quickly pulled out the dark stone nails on their bodies, and saved them one by one. These godly spirit race were the easiest to save. He only needed to pull out the dark stone nails, and it all depended on his speed. He just needed to pull out the dark stone nails, and it all depended on his speed. At this point, this little bit of pain was nothing, and it was good to be able to survive. After being saved, they all fell down one by one, and he put them into the living ring. At this time, a roar came from the hall in front of him. "Who is it?" Elder Tesso turned into a bolt of lightning as he whizzed over. In the blink of an eye, he had arrived here. At this time, Yi Tianyun just happened to save all the godly spirit race. When he turned his head, he saw Elder Tesso pouncing towards him, and opened his hand to release the power of a divine lord. Almost in an instant, the area in all directions was locked by Elder Tesso's power. Teleport. Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold, and he immediately used teleport. The teleportation god stone needed a little time to be used. If he used the teleportation god stone now, he would definitely be attacked. In the next moment, he used teleport, but he slammed into an invisible wall. He failed to escape. This was the first time in his history that his teleportation failed to escape. What's going on? I failed? Only now did Yi Tianyun realize that Elder Tesso's imprisonment did not only use his own energy, but also the energy of the entire Dark Heart City. Surging black energy wrapped around him from all directions, forming a thick wall and sealed him inside. Want to escape? Impossible! Elder Tesso sneered. Outsiders who break in have never escaped from my hands, and you are a human. I don't know how you sneaked in, but I know you are dead, and it will not be easy to kill you. He was angry, very angry. All the development elders around him were dead, and they died very tragically. So many development elders were dead, and it was a great loss. Their cultivation was not good, but they were experienced, and they could give good advice when making decisions. Now that they were all dead, he was shocked and angry. Dark Heart City was so heavily guarded, and besides him, there were 2 Divine Lord Elders locking on to all intruders. How could a human suddenly kill his way in? This was unbelievable. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.